Solomonster with you on a Thursday night here for a unexpected live breaking news update on a day where WWE reported its third quarter earnings. It's earnings day. $256 million in revenue. Making money hand over fist. Right? They're doing good. They're doing good. The bottom line is looking good in WWE. And they did what has become a habit for them this year. On a day where they report their earnings and they talk about how much money they made and how well they're doing, they released a whole bunch of wrestlers. 18 that we know of so far. There could potentially be more. I have no idea. These are the 18 names that have been publicly revealed. And with some of the earlier releases, we had some shocking names that were part of the list of cuts. This list was no different. There were a handful of names that were very surprising to see. And there were some that really call into question the judgment on the part of the people who work for this company. As with some of the earlier talent decisions and talent cuts that were made earlier this year, you look at the list of names and you just sit there and you stare at it and you wonder, somebody had to put this list together. Vince McMahon obviously had to approve it and sign off on it. What goes through their heads when they look at some of the names on this list? Some of the names on this list are not shocking to me at all. But you look at a select few and you wonder, how did it get to this point? How do you sign some of the people they have under contract in this company and not find a way to make money with them and not find a way to use them properly? Make them stars on TV. You already had them as stars on one of your brands. So what is it about these guys and girls when they get called up to Raw and SmackDown? What is it about them that changes where all of a sudden they're not good enough anymore? As with some of the earlier cuts, I find myself asking that question again. Because since April 15th of this year, April 15th was the really first big mass day of releases, I believe, this year. Of course, the releases go back to last year. There have been a lot of people who have been cut going back to last year in this company. But since April 15th, WWE has cut almost 70 talents. 70. 70. Just about. In June, it was Aleister Black. That was the first name that really grinded my gears. And I was happy for him because now he was free and he would be able to go somewhere else and prove to people that he could be a star and show people what he wasn't able to show in WWE. And you know what? He's done that so far in AEW. I'm happy for him. But it never should have gotten to that point where a man like Aleister Black, Malachi Black, lands on your cut list. And what's interesting is that if you remember when he got cut all those months ago, after being off television for 7 months, he was reintroduced on television. They had all these vignettes for him on SmackDown. He finally debuts. I think he went after Kevin Owens, if I remember. And it was shortly after that that he got fired and they let him go. So they waited to build him up for a proper reintroduction, at which point they got rid of him. And you're going to see here when I go through the current list from today, another example of that. But that was back in June. Aleister Black, Braun Strowman shocked me. He was a big name in the company. I certainly never would have expected him to land on the cut list. Ruby Riott, disappointing because she could have accomplished more as well on that WWE women's roster at a time when the women's roster was really starting to thin out. And they really could have used somebody like her either on Raw or SmackDown. Ever since she came back, she was hurt. She came back. They never, they paired her off. They did a little Riot Squad reunion. Never really did anything with her. And they cut her too. In July, it was the release of Bray Wyatt. Don't get me started on that again. And now we're hearing, different things about Bray Wyatt. And Vince McMahon never really liked him. He got tired of Bray, talking about the creative issues that he had and wanting all these ideas that he had, and Vince McMahon just grew tired of it and he wanted to get rid of Bray Wyatt. There's been so many rumors out there flying about why Bray Wyatt was fired by WWE, and we know Bray Wyatt is ready to just pop off. As he tweeted last week, he can't wait to give his side of the story. As he said in the tweet that he posted, we've got Johnny's version. We got Johnny and Bruce. I can't wait to speak on my own. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say when the time is right. I look forward to that shoot interview. How do you have a guy like Bray Wyatt and that Fiend character, which at first it was this great, new persona, very unique. He had something with it. And of course it got watered down and it got butchered and then it got beat by Goldberg and then he disappeared and he came back and then he disappeared again and he got burned and he came back at WrestleMania and then he lost and then they gave his gimmick to somebody else. That is the story of Bray Wyatt. That was in July that they let that man go. In August, it was Bronson Reed, a man who was the North American champion on the NXT brand, a man who they thought enough of to call up for some dark matches that he had on SmackDown. Well, not on SmackDown, but at SmackDown, some dark matches. They called up other people for dark matches who have since made it to television. But apparently Bronson Reed was not the kind of person that Vince McMahon was looking for. Apparently they weren't overly impressed by what they saw from him. And so this man who had been pushed in NXT, big guy, but he can move around, right? I used to compliment his top rope splash, how devastating it looked. North American champion. They took that title off him awfully quick, but it looked like he was poised for a main roster call-up. But apparently, he wasn't good enough. Fired, gone, kicked to the curb. Another Triple H project. Eliminated. We're seeing more and more examples of this. That was in August. Most of these, in the past, as is the case today, were reportedly under the guise of budget cuts. That was the excuse that they gave for Bray Wyatt, which you knew was bullshit the moment you read about that. But a lot of these cuts, the ones that weren't requested, because there were some of those too. Some people wanted out. Andrade wanted out. Grand Metalik wanted out. He was on the list today. Some people will get the release that they're looking for. Most of these people don't see it coming. It's like getting whacked on The Sopranos. Vince McMahon calls in the hit. They do the whacking. You don't even see it coming. Everything just goes black. That's how this usually works. But they claim budget cuts. An email went around today to the talent that got released claiming it was budget cuts. Trimming the fat. I mean, this is, after all, let's just look at it for what it is, right? This is a multi-billion dollar company. These guys are just names on a sheet of paper. They're numbers on a spreadsheet. That's all these people are. And I think more and more talent in WWE is really waking up to the fact that no matter how big of a star you may be, Bray Wyatt, all the merchandise he sold, right? It doesn't matter anymore how big of a star you are. Every single person on that roster not named Roman Reigns is expendable to this company. Nobody is safe. Nobody in the front office is safe. They just let go of somebody the other day, a front office employee that apparently was very well regarded and was with the company over 15 years. Gone. Nobody is safe. Numbers on a sheet of paper. And when they need to get rid of a few names, they need to trim the fat a little bit. You never know when the guillotine may fall right down on your neck. It's corporate America. WWE is no different than any other company in corporate America, Fortune 500. You talk about all these companies, doesn't make it right, but that's what WWE is today. They're not some big happy family. Oh, we're just one big happy family. That's a hell of a dysfunctional family. That's not a family that I want to be part of. They'll look you in the eye, shake your hand, give you a kiss on the cheek, give you a big hug, and put the knife right in your back. That's no family I want to be part of. But that's corporate America, and that's the way WWE is today. Now, among the names on today's list of cuts are two former NXT champions. Two men who found success under Triple H. Triple H did right by these people. He pushed them. He gave them an opportunity on television. They got over. They became NXT champion. They did very well for themselves on the yellow brand. Two men who then found nothing but frustration and failure. Although Keith Lee did have a couple of high points, right? Remember that big win over Randy Orton on that one pay-per-view over a year ago? No? You don't remember it? Some of you probably remember it. Some of you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, because it will go down as a footnote in history. But they found nothing but frustration. Once they fell under the thumb of Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard, it was a whole different ball game from what they were under with Triple H and NXT. Night and day. Can only imagine what they must have been thinking. Keith Lee just tweeted the other day, in fact, a very cryptic tweet. Perhaps he saw something coming. Said something along the lines of, if I ever write a book one day, it's going to be good. And I thought, well, that's kind of an odd, cryptic thing to post. Didn't think anything of it, and here we are, only a few days later. Maybe he did see it coming. Maybe he's the rare one who saw the hit going down. Couldn't do anything to stop it, but he could see it coming. Keith Lee, gone from WWE, or should I say, Keith Bearcat Lee, the same Bearcat Lee I just talked about on the podcast last weekend, who has growling noises inserted into his theme music, and when he comes down to the ring, he does the big roar. And I joked about how it's only a matter of time until we see this man on Monday Night Raw coming down to the ring and they have a giant litter box next to the ring. And his opponents try to beat him with some catnip to distract him. I said the man is not a fucking cat, the man is not a fucking bear. He's Keith Lee. And if you can't find a way to make money off somebody who looks like Keith Lee, then you're doing something wrong. Keith Lee got over just fine at NXT. So it's not a matter of, well, you know, he was a big fish in a small pond somewhere else. He can't get over in WWE. He got over. He got over in NXT. Now, I understand the audiences are a little bit different than the main roster, but he got over just fine being Keith Lee on NXT. One of the greatest things they ever did on NXT, in fact, involved Keith Lee and Adam Cole, the man who, one idea that was pitched, allegedly by Bruce Prichard, was to have Adam Cole manage Keith Lee. Keith Lee might soon be managing Adam Cole somewhere else. But one of the greatest things I've ever seen on the old NXT show before they fucking massacred my boy is Adam Cole coming down to the ring at Full Sail, and then out of nowhere, out of the camera frame, here comes Keith Lee with a body check, and he body checks Adam Cole. I mean, he looked like he sent this man into orbit. One of the greatest visuals I've ever seen. This man is a monster. He doesn't have to make weird fucking grunting noises on TV. He doesn't need some fucking gimmick. He doesn't have to be turned into a cartoon character like Looney Tunes. He's Keith fucking Lee. You know what else happened with Keith Lee when he got called up? Remember that Survivor Series that he was out of the Royal Rumble? Because he's had a few main roster spots before. I remember Keith Lee sharing a fist bump with Roman Reigns out of respect. I remember Brock Lesnar being in the ring of the Royal Rumble just last year, looking as Keith Lee lumbered down to the ring with a big look on his face. Ooh, big boy. And Keith Lee had a little go at it in the Royal Rumble match with Brock Lesnar, and it gave you a taste of what this guy could do. It gave you a taste of what was to come in his career, what could have been. Only something got in the way of that. And what got in the way was Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard. What got in the way was the usual WWE main roster bullshit. Somehow this company continues to make massive amounts of money hand over fist in spite of themselves. Not because they're so great at making stars the way they used to be. No. They'll make stars here and there. They are nowhere close to being able to make stars the way they used to. They are lacking stars, creating new, real, legitimate stars because they get in their own way. They make money in spite of themselves. Thank God for those TV contracts. Thank God for their 60, 70, 80 years, whatever it is, their 80-year track record at this point. They have, everybody knows what WWF or WWE is. Without that, where would they be? They're riding off fumes that were created years ago. Somewhere along the way, they forgot how to create stars. They forgot how to create baby faces. Keith Lee is just another in a long line. Now, we know that Keith Lee was hit by COVID, and he got hit pretty hard. He came out not too long ago, and he told the story, how scary it really was. You know, Keith Lee came very close. He came very close to losing his life. That's how serious that situation was. So him being gone and off television for that length of time, it's not all on WWE because Keith Lee had his own health issues, and he got through it. Thank God he got through it, and thank God he had Mia Yim, someone else I'm going to mention in a second, who stood by him and supported him, was going to be in the Women's Royal Rumble this year and said, no, I'm going to be home with my man to make sure that he's okay. And Keith Lee got better, and Keith Lee came back, and they couldn't figure out what to do with him. Really? It's that hard to figure out what to do with a guy who looks like Keith Lee? We've seen shades of what he could do on TV these last few weeks. The Bearcat stuff, I mean, the issue with the name and the gimmick, I mean, it fucking sucked. But him going out there and killing people and throwing people around was great. And I even said, you know, when I was railing and ranting on the whole Bearcat thing last weekend, I said, even still, if this is what it takes for Vince McMahon to remain interested and not lose interest and get bored of Keith Lee, and to actually push this guy, if you got to give him a silly name or a silly nickname, but he's going to give him a push, then fine. Because I like this new attitude that he had on TV. He's not coming out, big smile, greetings and salutations. I never really dug those promos. He went out there, he was beating people up. And now he's on the unemployment line. Because apparently, we can't figure out what to do with Keith Lee. If that isn't an indictment on this company, then I don't know what is. This man was a double champion in NXT. Remember when he beat Adam Cole? Great American Bash. NXT champion, North American champion. This man was on top of the world. The sky was the limit for him on the main roster. Heel, babyface, it didn't matter. You could have plugged him in there against anybody. Bobby Lashley, Big E, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns at some point. He would have fit right in there. Not even good enough to keep him around. On to the next one. Speaking of on to the next one, I mentioned there were 2 NXT champions who were part of this cut list here. The other name, Karrion Kross. Where do I begin with Karrion Kross? I was a big cheerleader for Karrion Kross when he was still stuck in Impact hell. And he was trying to get out of his Impact contract. And the question was, where's Killer Kross? Where's Killer Kross and Scarlett going to end up? Because Scarlett, I think, if I remember, I think she got out of her deal first with Impact, and then Karrion Kross got his release. And I know they had a lot of issues in that company, but where are they going to end up? Are they going to go to WWE? I thought maybe he'd pop up in MLW. But I said the guy has a presence about him. He looks like a star. He speaks really well. He's articulate. He carries himself well. He's got the big crazy eyes. You know, this guy looks like a star. I would have debuted him a little bit differently. I always thought it would have been more appropriate to debut him maybe as like a bodyguard for somebody. And then eventually, I kind of like Batista in Evolution all those years ago. He just sort of naturally gets over. You push his buttons a little too much, and one day he just snaps and he breaks out. He could be a big breakout star. They didn't debut him that way. But when he signed with WWE, he didn't go to the main roster. He went to NXT. And Triple H obviously huddled with him, and they came up with this idea for him and Scarlett to come in as a combo. They put this great entrance together for him with this great music that she sang, and the smoke and the music and the lighting. It was a great superstar entrance. I looked at that entrance and said, Vince McMahon has got to be salivating over getting this guy and Scarlett on TV. I mean, of course, right? I mean, she's a beautiful woman. She's a blonde. How could Vince McMahon not like her? But Karrion Kross, he's a bigger guy, than probably the average guy you would have seen on the NXT roster. But look at the entrance, everything they would love on that main roster. The guy looks like a star. Surely one day when he makes it up to the main roster, he's going to get an opportunity to climb the ladder. I'm reminded of an interview that Road Dogg did. This must be a dark day for the Road Dogg. The Road Dogg is shedding tears in his doghouse out in his backyard right now. Because it was Road Dogg one day in the interview that he did, I think it was with Corey Graves on his podcast, that made the comment, if only Adam Cole had the size of a Karrion Kross, he would be the world champion right now on Raw or SmackDown. That was what Road Dogg said. And Road Dogg is someone who is in a position of power in this company. Road Dogg is in a position of power behind the scenes right now down in NXT. So his opinion does matter. His opinion does carry weight. And I think the way that he thinks is very likely the way that other people in WWE think, right? He's in that bubble down there. And I thought for Adam Cole, boy, is that a red flag. As soon as I heard that, I said, this guy better carry himself as fast as his feet will carry him when his contract is over. Thank God he did. And Adam Cole got the hell out of there. But here we are now. When did he make that comment? I think it was last year. Road Dogg made that comment. Adam Cole, out of WWE. Karrion Kross, also gone from WWE. Even Karrion Kross couldn't get a Karrion Kross push on the main roster. I wonder what Road Dogg thinks about that. Or maybe Road Dogg thinks that, hey, guess he couldn't cut the mustard. Maybe he buys into that bubble that he finds himself in. Guy was an NXT champion. He was unstoppable. I never really dug the gladiator gear, but guy was a monster, got a monster push in NXT. And then he gets the call up to the main roster. He loses the title to Samoa Joe a few months ago, and he gets the call up to the main roster. And he comes in, no Scarlett. Where is she? She's a very important part of the package here. No Scarlett. The entrance isn't quite the same. And then he shows up one day looking like a fucking Ninja Turtle. Walking down to the ring looking like the goddamn Shredder. Thought to myself, what the fuck are they doing to this guy? It was bad enough when they had birds flying out of Matt Riddle's feet when he would jump into the ring. Now they put this mask on this guy, completely unnecessary because they have to put their mark on everything. Even if it works in NXT, we've got to put our little spin on it. We have to change something. Even if it's working, we have to change something about it. We have to make him main roster material. But they got rid of Scarlett. They put the fucking mask on him. He looked ridiculous. And in his very first match, he lost in about a minute to Jeff Hardy. Now, after that, he did lose once or twice more. I think he actually lost to Keith Lee when Keith Lee came back to TV. But he lost his very first match to Jeff Hardy. Everything that you could possibly do wrong with him, they did. If I made a checklist of things not to do with Karrion Kross when he gets called up to the main roster, absolutely do not do any of these things. They used to have a game on The Price is Right called Danger Price. And Bob Barker would pull the sign down and there would be a price, $500. There would be 4 prizes and he would tell the contestant, whatever you do not choose the prize that is $500. Hence, the reason we call it Danger Price. Pick any of the other 3. Don't pick the one that's $500. What did Vince McMahon go ahead and do? He picked the prize that was $500. Whatever you could do possibly wrong with this guy, they did. They changed enough about him that he didn't feel like a star anymore. Everything that worked, they changed. They killed. And I thought maybe Scarlett, maybe there's an issue. Maybe she's hurt. Maybe there's a reason why she's not on TV. Maybe the idea is that we're going to debut him. He's going to lose a few matches. And I mean, trying to figure out what goes through these people's minds is fucking impossible. You try to make sense of it, but it's just not possible. It never made any sense. It didn't make sense when they first brought him up, and it makes even less sense now because not only did they get rid of Karrion Kross, they got rid of Scarlett as well. So we never even got to see her on TV. This whole time you think, well, maybe they're going to debut her separately and put her in the women's division, which would have been fucking stupid because, again, why split them up? Well, now they're both gone from WWE, and Scarlett has already gone on Twitter and said free to work in 30 days. And yes, she said the smoke show is back. So she's already looking onward and upward. She never even got a look on the main roster. She never even got to sniff Raw or SmackDown. And as for Karrion Kross, look at what they did to him. This is maybe the most egregious thing about these two guys. Look at what they did to Keith Lee and Karrion Kross, right? They had success in NXT under Triple H. And what must Triple H be thinking right now? This is not the first time that one of the people that he has pushed and cultivated in NXT has been ruined on their way to the main roster. What must he be thinking right now that Keith Lee and Karrion Kross are no longer WWE stars? Adam Cole felt the need to leave the company. Triple H is sitting at home convalescing right now. It's bad enough, look, they took his show and they turned it into a fucking circus. Did you see that show on Tuesday? It's a fucking circus. It's their own version of SNL. His heart has got to just be broken right now, which isn't good for a guy who just had a cardiac episode. So I can only imagine how he must feel watching all of this play out. He can't feel good about that. But look at what they did to these two guys. They called them up, they ruined them, and then they fired them. They're damaged goods. Now they'll be fine. They'll dust themselves off. They'll land somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be AEW. I don't know if it's going to be Impact, MLW, New Japan. I don't know. Only time will tell where they end up. They will end up somewhere. They will be successful somewhere else. But they took these guys, they tore them down, and they discarded them. And that really is the sickest part about this. It's bad enough. It's not like, well, we tried and it just didn't work. They never even tried. They never even gave them a chance. And that is the sickest part about all of this. So Keith Lee, gone. Karrion Kross, gone. Scarlett, gone. Nia Jax. I never thought I would see the day that Nia Jax would be gone from WWE. I am not going to sit here and pretend that I was a huge fan of Nia Jax. I am not going to sit here and pretend that Nia Jax never got opportunities. Nia Jax got more opportunities than she probably should have been given because Nia Jax was not ready when she was called up to the main roster. There are people who will spend years in NXT who were more than ready. Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, these guys spent 3 years, or almost 3 years, in developmental, when it was still developmental, before Triple H turned it into a super indie. That was the beginning of the super indie days. Nia Jax was called up. You could say it's because of her family tree being related to The Rock. She's The Rock's cousin, or just that she's part of the whole Samoan tribe, and the Samoan tribe has always gotten preferential treatment in WWE. They love their Samoans. Whatever it was, she got called up. She had no business being called up to the main roster when she was. And along the way, she would be in the ring with people. She hurt people. There were other times where she was just sloppy. There were other times she looked completely disinterested being in the ring. People would get hurt. She was not ready for prime time compared to some of the other people they have under contract. You would look and say, why is Nia Jax on television? Nia Jax has no business being on television. Nia Jax should go back down to developmental, hone her skills, get better, improve her craft, and then be called back up to the main roster. Because she does have a unique look. And maybe then at that point she'll have something to contribute. Nia Jax should have been down in Orlando. She should not have been on the road with Raw or SmackDown. But you can't say that she didn't find success. I'll tell you what, she had a hell of a lot more success than Keith Lee or Karrion Kross did. Women's champion, women's tag team champion, feuded with all the top stars, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. She broke Becky's face. Asuka, Sasha Banks. They handcuffed Shayna Baszler to her for about 9 months in that tag team, that makeshift tag team. Nia Jax overachieved in WWE. And look, I'm not happy to see people lose their job. I never came out and said Nia Jax should be fired. I said Nia Jax should be taken off the main roster and demoted and sent back down to developmental. And shockingly, she ended up on the cut list. And Nia Jax is no longer in WWE. And I don't exactly see AEW or anyone, running in to scoop up Nia Jax. I'm sure she'll land somewhere as well. She does have name recognition coming off of television. I am not clamoring to see her on AEW television anytime soon. I was shocked. That might be the most shocking, to be honest with you. Of all the cuts, all the names that popped up on this list, her name being on there was probably the most shocking. Because I thought that she was bulletproof. But again, proof, nobody is bulletproof. There's only one Samoan on that roster who is bulletproof, and it's not Samoa Joe because he got cut. Before Triple H realized what a fucking dumb move that was, and then he re-signed him to an NXT deal. It's Roman Reigns. They wouldn't dare get rid of Roman Reigns. Anybody else, though, can't say the same thing for them. Here's another one. Here's another winner of a decision here. B-Fab. B-Fab from Hit Row. The same Hit Row that just got called up to the main roster only a few weeks ago. We just had a big draft, right? Hit Row got drafted to SmackDown. And I did a whole segment on that. I said, boy, you know, I'm a big fan of Hit Row on NXT. They were one of the fresher acts on that show. Just a cool act that really caught on. Isaiah Swerve Scott finally found some real success on NXT through leading that group. They had a good thing going with Hit Row. And remember when Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard and Nick Khan were at the Performance Center? We were reading reports about them taking a tour of the Performance Center. And I joked, I said, boy, I hope Hit Row got locked in a closet or locked themselves in a closet away from those guys. Stay away. Apparently they didn't stay away. And they got called up to the main roster. And we had some vignettes on TV. And they debuted. Now, B-Fab had a match on NXT not long before they all got called up. It was not a very good match at all. And a lot of that had to do with B-Fab. Elektra Lopez didn't look all that great either. But B-Fab clearly in the ring was not ready to make the main roster if their plans for her were to be in the ring. Now, as part of Hit Row, as a valet, you know, as a character on the show, I think she fit in perfectly fine. I thought that she was a great part of Hit Row. In the ring, she obviously was still very green and needed more seasoning before she would be ready. Now, what their reasoning was for getting rid of her, we don't know. You know, they can hide behind the budget cuts all they want to. I'm sure for a lot of these people, men and women, there are other reasons why they were let go. And in due time, we'll probably find out for some of them what those reasons really were. You know, did it have to do with something that they did, something that they said? Was it COVID related? Did they not want to get vaxxed? Who the hell knows, right? I mean, in time, I'm sure more information will come out. But you have this brand new act that you just called up to SmackDown. And this is exactly what happened with Aleister Black earlier this year. They ran vignettes on TV for him. He finally debuts. He never was given a chance. They cut his legs off, and then they made him crawl. They made him drag his body. They cut his legs off first, and then they made him crawl out of the building and kicked his ass to the curb. B-Fab, gone. Hit Row now, down a member. It's not looking good for Hit Row. I think I gave it about 6 months. I said, wait about 6 months. I believe is the time frame that I gave it. We're not even 2 months in. Already one of the members of Hit Row is gone. She's on death row. Not a good sign for Hit Row. But you can't say that you didn't see this coming. I called it. A lot of other people called it. Stevie Wonder could have called it. Mia Yim. They called up Mia Yim to be part of Retribution. Remember Retribution, another winner of a creative idea from this company? They put Mia Yim in this mask. And remember when Mia Yim was on TV convulsing? She was like laying on the mat and she was like, you know, she was having this fit or a seizure or something. That was her big moment on the main roster. Then Retribution came to an end. She was moved. Technically, she was listed on the SmackDown roster internally and apparently was going to debut in the Women's Royal Rumble earlier this year. Keith Lee got sick. She decided to be with him, to take care of him. She ended up getting COVID, I believe, as a result, but has since gotten over it. Where has Mia Yim been? Supposedly, she was listed internally on the SmackDown brand. We never saw her again. She never made a single appearance after that. So here we are talking about Keith Lee and how horribly mismanaged Keith Lee was on the main roster, when we should also be looking at Mia Yim, who is a talented lady, a talented part of the women's division. As thin as that women's roster on both show was over the past few months, they sure could have used somebody like a Mia Yim. Where was she? Why was she sitting at home this entire time? Now she finds herself on the cut list. They had depth issues for months. SmackDown could have used her. And she sat at home. Toni Storm actually made the cut instead of being cut. She's on SmackDown right now. You would never know it, though, because you barely ever see her on TV. I worry about her future as well. I worry about anybody who gets called up from NXT to the main roster. And it almost seems to me, part of what we're seeing here is almost this purging of, in a lot of cases, independent talent that was recruited by Triple H, who were pushed on NXT. They either debut on the main roster and get completely fucked over, or they don't get called up at all and then they get cut. And it feels to me there is this intentional purging of Triple H's NXT signees that is going on here. You'll find a few exceptions who make it through. There's something about them they like and they actually get pushed and they can get over possibly on the main roster. But I'm seeing a pattern developing here. It's almost like they just want to slowly erase the memory that Triple H's NXT even existed. They're going to get rid of all the remnants of the old NXT. They're going to cleanse it. So it's just nothing but 2.0 developmental talent. And they could fuck them up too. Because what makes you think that if Braun Breaker can't even call him by his fucking name, can't even acknowledge the fact that he's part of a wrestling family, we got to give him some goofy name, but the guy is awesome. Well, what makes you think that when Braun Breaker gets called up to the main roster in 6 months or 9 months or a year, that he's going to fare any better? Why should I have any faith? Why should I invest in any of these people? It's the same argument I make every time we hear about these cuts when people aren't given a chance. Why am I following their careers from NXT to the main roster if I know what fate awaits them? Why would I ever bother to get invested in them and want to see where their journey takes them? You can't get invested in any of these people because they have no future. 75% of them have no future. So what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Harry Smith. I bet some of you didn't even know that Harry Smith was under contract. Harry Smith, D.H. Smith, who was in WWE many years ago, the son of the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith. He was signed, I think it was Johnny Ace who wanted to re-sign him. He was obviously spending a lot of time in New Japan for many years. But Harry Smith was re-signed earlier this year around WrestleMania time. And they were still doing the Thunderdome shows, right? No live fans at the buildings yet. But then, all of a sudden, WWE was back on the road, and they were in Houston. The Friday before Money in the Bank in July, live SmackDown from Houston, Texas. And guess who was in the very first match of the very first WWE show back on the road post-COVID? I say post-COVID, you know what I mean by that. Harry Smith wrestled the dark match on that SmackDown show in July. And when he got to the back, they had a video up on the WWE YouTube channel. They had a promo, about a 45-second promo, where the backstage interviewer was asking him, how does it feel to be back in WWE? And he cut this promo, and it was very dry and bland. It was a very basic promo. But he was excited to be back in the WWE family and in front of the WWE universe. He was using the buzzwords and everything. And then we never heard about Harry Smith again. I think Harry Smith also got COVID. He was sick for a while, but got over it. We never even saw him on television. He never even made an appearance, which is shocking to me. I would have expected them to put video packages together, debut him on TV, and then cut him a week later. That's the WWE MO. Let's debut them and then fire them. They didn't even do that. So I don't know what he was being paid for all these months, but boy, I guess he didn't have to do much work for it. Whatever they were paying him, he took the money. He didn't really have to do anything. And now he can go work somewhere else because he is released. WWE released Harry Smith. Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik are gone. Now, Gran Metalik, if you remember a few months ago, had asked for his release. He had requested his WWE release. And why not? I mean, it's not like they were doing anything with the fucking guy. And he actually got his release. So if anybody on this list is truly happy, it's got to be Gran Metalik, because he got exactly what he asked for. He wanted out of that company. And he got his release. Bryan Danielson has actually, in the past, said that the one person he would love to get in the ring with that I don't think he's ever had the chance to wrestle, but he thinks he's great, he just hasn't had the chance to really show it, is Gran Metalik. So I'm not saying Tony Khan should go and give Gran Metalik a contract. Gran Metalik is all elite. Maybe he will end up there. But you know what? Bring him on in for one match on TV against Bryan Danielson. Because I don't doubt that Danielson and he will go out there and have a great match. One time on TV, Gran Metalik one-on-one against Bryan Danielson. I hope Danielson gets the match. I'm sure he could go to Tony Khan and vouch for him and say, look, even just one time, this guy is great, I promise you. Put him in the ring with me. Bring him in. Now we can get the match. Because before he came to WWE, I didn't know too much about him. So when they signed him, all I heard was that he's one of the greatest high flyers in the world today. One of the best luchadors in wrestling. And I watched some of his work on YouTube, and he's very impressive. We just never really had a chance to see that in WWE because they brought him in and he was, playing with piñatas. I guess it beats what they used to do with the Mexicools on TV when they would ride lawnmowers down to the ring on SmackDown. Frankie Monet was released. Frankie Monet, the former Taya Valkyrie, is now once again Taya Valkyrie. In fact, she's already tweeted, Taya Valkyrie, the wife of John Morrison, so I'm sure not a very happy night for the Morrison household. She had debuted only a few months ago on the NXT brand. And she did have, I think she had a championship match, I believe. Didn't really do much beyond that. Had a few matches on TV. Won some matches, lost some matches. Otherwise was not really involved in any kind of key storyline. But she is well-traveled. She has been wrestling for a very long time. She has experience all over the world. And apparently not WWE main roster material. When they signed her, I thought that putting her together with Morrison on TV actually would have made a lot of sense. She still could have wrestled, but having seen them work together on camera on Lucha Underground, not just the fact that they're a real-life couple, they played off each other very well. There was like a natural chemistry there, and not just the physical chemistry. There was an on-screen chemistry there. WWE apparently, they don't watch Lucha Underground, so they knew nothing of this chemistry. They never even thought to put the two of them together, and now she is gone from the company. Oney Lorcan, gone. He posted a video on YouTube confirming the news. He said that he has a 90-day non-compete clause, which is unique because most of the NXT talent have 30-day non-competes. He says his non-compete is 90 days, so in February, we are going to get the return of Biff Busick. And I think he's going to run amok on the independent circuit, as he was doing before he came to WWE. Trey Baxter is gone. Cora Jade is one of the new additions to the female roster on NXT. I believe the two of them are a real-life couple. And they've actually been together on NXT television, the two of them. They weren't really put together as a formal couple, but they've been on camera and they've, made out on TV and stuff. So at first I saw Trey Baxter's name and I thought, well, Cora Jade better not be on this list. I was just, talking recently about how Cora Jade could be this great, girl next door, female babyface, kind of like Dakota Kai used to be or Bayley. I think she could really get over on that NXT women's roster. As far as I could tell, she is still with them. She is not yet cut, but unfortunately her boyfriend is not as lucky. And Trey Baxter is on the cut list, as is Jessie Kamea, another name who actually was hanging around, I believe, with Frankie Monet on TV recently, and Robert Stone. Robert Stone is not cut, but she was hanging around with Robert Stone. Katrina Cortez also released. Zeta Ramir, who we have seen have a handful of matches, squash matches on the NXT brand. And Jeet Rama rounds out the list. He just lost to Solo Sikoa, who looked very impressive in his in-ring debut on NXT on Tuesday. One of the Usos. He is the third Uso. So Mr. Rama just took the L on Tuesday, and on Thursday, I guess he took the L again, because now he is gone from WWE. That is 18 names in total. 18 names in total. I don't know if there are more releases coming. A lot of times this news drops on a Friday. It's a little bit different, I think, for it to drop on a Thursday. So, look, I don't want to see anybody lose their jobs. Hopefully that is it for now. But we know there's going to be more of these cuts. Even if the cuts are over for now, it's only a matter of time because WWE, this is the way things are going to be going forward. Every few months, we're going to hear about these mass layoffs, NXT talent, main roster talent. We're going to be shocked. We're going to be angry in some cases. Not every single one of these people that are on these lists are going to go on to be main eventers. Not everybody on these lists are going to go on to become main roster stars. But you look at some of the names that they have released. People that should be stars right now on WWE television. People who could have made money for this company. Who could have gotten over. I don't want to hear, oh, they would never have gotten over in front of a casual audience. That is a bullshit argument. You sound like Vince McMahon. There is no reason a Karrion Kross or a Keith Lee should be on a list like this. Any company would be thrilled, I'm sure, to pick them up and would benefit greatly. You mean to tell me that an AEW or an MLW or an Impact would not benefit from having a Keith Lee on their roster? So I look forward, as I did with Malachi Black, to him landing somewhere where his talent will be recognized and they will allow him to go out there and beat Keith Lee. Because that's what got him over and got him noticed in the first place. That's what got him signed by WWE and Triple H. Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard obviously have a very, very different view on talent than Triple H does. And I think going forward, that's going to be a very interesting story when Triple H is able to come back to NXT. What is his future? Because it seems to me like Vince McMahon has moved on from his son-in-law. And if Triple H was not married into the family, I don't know that he would have much of a future in WWE. I mean, think about it. They have released people from the front office and talent who have been with the company for years. They've released talent that are major names. If Triple H wasn't married into the McMahon family right now, I don't think he would be in WWE. That might be the only thing keeping him in the family, in the WWE family, is his marriage to Stephanie and the fact that he gave Vince McMahon 3 beautiful grandkids. Because it seems to me, outside of the family, he is very much on the outs. And I think it honestly goes back to the AEW stuff. When NXT was not able to stop AEW from achieving some level of success on TNT on Wednesday nights, I believe that was the beginning of the end. For Triple H, in the eyes of Vince McMahon, seeing him possibly as the heir apparent and seeing him as somebody that he could trust and entrust the company with and trust the future with. Creatively, take over the reins, be the next guy, be the next king. He couldn't even hold back AEW. All he had to do was just keep them at bay, keep it competitive, and he couldn't do it. And I'm sure Vince McMahon looked at that and he was very embarrassed. And that right there is what got Triple H on his shit list. I believe that. I believe there absolutely is truth to that. And then they blew up NXT. They have a totally different vision now for what NXT is going to be, going back to its developmental roots, but it's not just going back to developmental. Watch that show from Tuesday. It's like Raw Light. Monday Night Raw Light. Less calories. With a lot of talent that are not ready to be on television, but they have a contract with USA Network that they have to honor. It's one thing, back in the day, you had NXT on the network. You had FCW airing locally on local television in Florida. Those shows were not being beamed out to 1 million people or 6, 7, 800,000 people every week on USA Network, on a major cable network. Now it is. So we get a lot of green guys and green girls on TV mixed in with some vets here and there like Kyle O'Reilly or Tommaso Ciampa. But NXT is all bright colors now. It's, it's like a fucking rainbow, and, it's a goddamn variety show. It's the exact opposite of what Triple H's vision was for that show. So what little slice of WWE he had that he was in charge of now, it's basically been taken away from him. What does his future look like? What must be going through his head right now? That is an interesting story to follow going forward. And as far as talents are concerned, there's 3 more names that I am reminded of here. We hear about these releases. We see Johnny Gargano on television this week. We see Kyle O'Reilly on television this week. Both men have contracts that are coming due in the month of December. I'm unaware of them. There's been no announcement of any kind of them re-signing yet. Very possible they may stay right where they are. I think it's more likely Gargano maybe than O'Reilly. But that's two of your top baby faces right there on the NXT brand. And two of the last remnants of the Triple H era of NXT. Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly could very well be on their way out. Kevin Owens is on the main roster. For how much longer? His contract up at the end of January. We know he's got a lot of friends over in AEW. What does his future look like? So we could be hearing about some more turnover with some big names in the months to come. And yes, Tuxedo T. Servo did mention one name that I forgot. I actually skipped over her here. And I apologize. I named 17 cuts. I missed one. I actually missed one. Ember Moon was also on that list. I forgot about Ember Moon, just like WWE apparently forgot about Ember Moon. How appropriate. How appropriate. Ember Moon was on the WWE main roster at one time. She had a brief run on there. And in NXT, she's a former NXT Women's Champion, NXT Women's Tag Team Champion. They changed her character up a little bit not too long ago. Ember Moon is a talented wrestler. Ember Moon was, I think, a fine part of the women's division down there. And it looked like maybe they were gearing up for a heel turn or they were going to change things up with her again. And we find out today that Ember Moon is also on the cut list. Ember Moon tweeted out, "All I can do is laugh." So she doesn't sound very thrilled about being released. Eva Marie, my God. I had Eva Marie listed right under Nia Jax, and I almost forgot about her too. Well, even to be fair, Eva Marie hasn't been on television recently. Eva Marie is another one like Nia Jax, who really had no business being on TV. Once the angle with Doudrop ran its course, let's be honest, Eva Marie's run in WWE was over. See, I was more animated about a lot of these other people. Hence the reason why I almost forgot about Eva Marie, because frankly, I'm nonplussed by the news that Eva Marie is gone from WWE. Eva Marie, I'm sure, is going to go on and do other stuff, reality show stuff or something. I don't know if she'll be in wrestling anymore. Eva Marie had absolutely no business being on television in the ring. As a manager or some kind of on-air personality, I suppose you could have found a role for her. She's still got, a lot of heat from the crowd. But they put her in the ring as a wrestler. I thought they were bringing her back to be like a manager or a mentor for people. And they put her in the fucking ring. And all these years away from WWE, she didn't get any better. All the stuff about how she's at the Performance Center and she's training. It was the same Eva Marie that we saw last time she was on WWE television. She didn't improve. She didn't get any better. In the meantime, when she left the company, the women's division actually improved. They had this whole women's evolution thing, and you had all this great women's talent that, came up through the ranks of NXT. There was really no room for someone like Eva Marie in the ring with people like Charlotte and Sasha and, even someone like Bianca Belair, who has less experience in WWE than Eva Marie does. Came to the main roster and has been very impressive. She's a legitimate athlete. Eva Marie, I think, had an athletic background. Wasn't she a volleyball player or something? But Eva Marie being gone from WWE will not be really a major story as far as affecting anything one way or the other on TV. The women's division on Raw or SmackDown will be just fine without Eva Marie. That, I believe, is the complete list. I believe now I have hit everybody. That should be all 18 right there. That's a lot of names to cut in one day. It was a bloodbath, is what it was. Plain and simple. And we are going to see more of these. And it's sad, because I don't want to see people get fired and lose their jobs and not know what they're going to do next. For some of these people, I don't know if anybody on this list is affected by this, but I know the Iconics were. When they got fired, they were worried because some people have work visas, and if they don't find work within a certain period of time, they may not be able to stay in this country. Actually, Bronson Reed, I think, may have had that issue. So it's a scary thing for some of these people when they get the call or the email or whatever it may be that they're being let go. It's not a fun time, but I do look forward to the day that we see people like a Keith Lee or an Ember Moon or a Karrion Kross or a Mia Yim doing their thing somewhere else where hopefully they'll be appreciated. And they'll sink or swim based on their own merits and not based on the whims of a madman who has no fucking idea what to do with them. The names that this company has cut this year, it is an indictment on the entire creative process in WWE. From Aleister Black to Bray Wyatt to Keith Lee to Bronson Reed, even Andrade, who they basically drove out of this company. That guy couldn't wait to hit the exit door. Up and down, you find these names, and it's shocking. Shocking that they would let some of this talent go. Mr. J says Vince is losing his mind as the years go by. It does, sir. It does feel that way. It does feel that way. This company, somewhere along the way, seemingly forgot how to create new stars. It took them how many years to figure out maybe this Roman Reigns guy shouldn't be the smiling babyface. Maybe that's not the right role for him. Maybe we should go a different way with him. Now we have the tribal chief. The guy's doing the best work of his entire career. Why did it take 5 years to figure that out? Why did it take failure after failure after failure? Vince McMahon is such a creative genius. How come it took him that long to figure it out? Where is this creative genius that I heard so much about for so many years? Or was there ever really a creative genius? Maybe he just surrounded himself with people who actually knew how to book heels and baby faces. Maybe he surrounded himself by the right people and had the right people in his ear at the right time. Maybe in recent years, the old man has been exposed. I don't know. God knows he's making plenty of money, more money than any other promoter has made. But maybe that genius never really existed. The last several years have made me really rethink that. I want to thank everybody who has been sending in super chats. I am going to read each and every single one of your super chat. And by the way, our new channel members, we picked up a few of those as well. So if you are a brand new channel member, welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. But I know you guys have a lot of opinions on these releases. I know some of you were upset by some of them. So I'm going to get to all of your messages here. Yeah, Cancel Me says that Vince raided all the territories and took their talent and didn't really have to create too many of his own. I do think that there is some merit to that. He took a lot of that talent, though, and gave them that extra boost. Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania was already a thing in the AWA. Long before he ever got to Vince McMahon. But Vince took that and he amplified it, right, on a national stage. WrestleMania, the stuff with Mr. T, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, he was hosting Saturday Night Live. He took a guy who was already over. He took something that already existed, this Hulkamania thing, and he brought it to new heights because he went national when nobody else did. So when you look at some of these names, whether it's a Hulk Hogan or a Macho Man or a Rowdy Roddy Piper, these are men that were already stars elsewhere. Vince got his hands on them. He was smart enough to just kind of raid and collect everybody like toys and line them all up. He had the shiniest toys because he could afford them. Maybe there is something to that. But all I heard for years is what a great creative visionary the man is. He's smart, I'll give him that. He's a smart, shrewd businessman. But some of the decisions that he has made in recent years, especially on the creative end of things and evaluating certain talents and who he thinks is going to get over and who he thinks doesn't have the ability to get over. To me, if I were whatever position I would be in, working in that company, and I saw these things happening, I would creatively question the future of this company. It is amazing to me that they can still make the kind of money they're making in spite of all these decisions that have been made. It really is something else. But let's read your super chats here. We got a lot of them to get through. Good. If you have an opinion and you want to support the channel, you can drop a super chat. I will read everything you guys send to me. We got a lot to get through here. Solomonster needs to run WWE after Vince kicks the bucket. I don't want the job. No, thank you. No, thank you. Declan Malloy with the $6. I know that they are still employed, so it's not as bad, but the 2K people must want to put their head through a wall at this point. Yeah. If you work on the WWE video game end, what must you be thinking every time you hear that there's a new release and they release half their roster? I mean, think about it. It's really sad. You could take the talent that they have released just this year alone. Forget last year. You could take the talent that they have released this year and you can create your own roster for your own company. You could create an entirely new roster for a brand new wrestling company just using talent that they have let go this year. And have quite a few big names on there. But I'm telling you, they're cleaning house. A lot of the Triple H signees and the people that he put in positions, top positions on that NXT brand, what we're seeing is a purging and a house cleaning of a lot of that Triple H talent, the Triple H era of NXT. A lot of those people got called up. Some of them didn't get called up or were only recently called up to the main roster. And I'm telling you that is part of what we are seeing play out here before our eyes. Meanwhile, the only people who are hurt by this, besides you and me, because, we have people that we're fans of, and then we never even have a chance to see them succeed, is the talent themselves. Because they get caught in the middle of this, it's not their fault. It's a mindfuck. Even, again, Keith Lee made the comment in an interview recently. He said he likes the fact, he said, that Vince McMahon was hands-on with him recently, which you could tell with the Bearcat stuff. That had Vince McMahon's handprints all over it. But he said he was happy because at least now he knows what the boss is looking for. He doesn't want to go out there and, act a certain way and wrestle a certain way if Vince McMahon isn't going to approve. He basically was like, all right, look, if the boss is going to come to me and tell me to do things this way, then that means, okay, I know what he wants and I'll be able to go out there and deliver. He sounded like a defeated man. He sounds, with these cryptic tweets and everything, he sounds like a man like Bray Wyatt, who is just dying to speak his piece and tell his story. And whatever podcast he ends up doing where he tells that story, I will be listening. I look forward to the day that he is able to speak his mind and let everybody know what the fuck was going on behind the scenes that maybe we weren't aware of. This cannot be the way that he envisioned his career coming to an end in that company. Double champion in NXT a little over a year ago to the unemployment line. It just doesn't make sense. Iren0 with the $5. For consistency, WWE should include all the releases in the new 2K games. Nathan Cadia, thank you for the $9.99, Nathan. Can't stay as I need to sleep before work. Releasing all of this talent 1 week after Ring of Honor released all of their talents is ridiculous. The best thing to do now is hope they find their footing somewhere. I guess the issue is, not all of these people are going to be able to just go to AEW. That's not the answer. Tony Khan just can't sign everybody. And he makes a very good point. The Ring of Honor talent is technically not yet released. If you have a Ring of Honor contract that is over at the end of this year, it will not be renewed. So at the end of the year, December 31st, January 1st, if you are under contract to Ring of Honor, until then, you will no longer be under contract. You will be free to go wherever you want. So very soon, a lot of the ROH talents will be free agents. When you have a lot of those people who are going to be free and available, and then WWE gets rid of 18 people in a single day, it kind of floods the market. It might make it harder for some of these people to find a landing spot because these companies, the big ones anyway, they can't sign everybody. So there are some people who are going to get fucked over by this. But the Keith Lees and the Karrion Krosses of the world, they're going to be fine. They're not going to be free agents for very long. But it is very sad to see, what happened in Ring of Honor. We just talked about the Ring of Honor story last week, and then something like this happens. It's been a very dark week because of this in the world of wrestling. Nathan, again, my personal hope is that AEW can sign some of the talented women to improve their division. Mia, Taya, and Ember would elevate it to new heights. They would be very good additions to that women's... All three of them. All three women would be very good additions to that women's division. Mr. E1976 Here's to the tip jar. Thanks for everything you do, Solomonster. Well, thank you for joining me, Mr. E. You know, we went out very quickly with this stream, so I know there's going to be a lot of people who are not even aware that we are live right now, but, you know, they'll be able to tune in on the archive version. Eddie A. Vince is so senile, I wouldn't be surprised if Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns gets cut. Roman Reigns is not getting cut. Roman Reigns is the one guy who is bulletproof in this company. That I believe. That I do believe. Joshua Carlos Ocean Man, absolutely sad that this had to happen. TV time on talents that equated to nothing productive being created. Wasted talent, especially Lee and Kross. You know, it's just why even put these guys on television and even, you know, build them up? That's the thing. These decisions are made so hastily and so suddenly that you can tell there really is no thought being given to it. There's no thought, there's no long-term thought being given to what to do with these people. And that's another alarming thing that we see as a byproduct of all these releases, because it doesn't make sense that you would call somebody up to television and then a few weeks later you would get rid of them. So these things are happening in real time here. You know, again, what is going on with Vince McMahon? This guy used to have his shit together. This kind of thing wouldn't have happened years ago in this company. And now, you know, things change on a daily basis. His seemingly his mood changes on what he likes and doesn't like. Changes on a seemingly daily basis. We hear all the time about him getting to the building late and the Raw script being ripped up an hour before the show. This company, it's like fucking Nitro in the dying days when you hear some of these stories. Nitro wishes that they were making $256 million in revenue. If they were making $256 million in revenue, WCW might still be alive today. If Vince McMahon didn't have those nice, cushy TV contracts, I don't think that he would be in a very good situation right now. Joshua says, absolutely sad this had to happen. I mentioned that already. Mongol PSR, what the fuck would have happened to Adam Cole as Keith Lee's manager if he stayed? There's a question. There's a question for you. If Adam Cole had actually stayed in WWE and they decided to go with the idea to make him a manager for Keith Lee, would he have been on that list today too? Would they have gotten rid of Keith Lee and Adam Cole at the same time? Because I can't imagine Vince McMahon is going to let Keith Lee go, but then keep a guy that looks like Adam Cole. There's a very good chance Adam Cole would have been on this cut list today. That's a very good point. That is if they decided to go with the idea. That was an idea that was pitched, not necessarily the idea they would have gone with, but that's a very good point. Brian Becerra, bus flip. Best of luck on future endeavors. We get a bus flip every 5 months, five or 6 months at this point. EJ Slemp, I don't want to see anybody lose their jobs. But there are some talent I'm surprised have not been cut through all of this, like Corbin and Ziggler. Benster Gaming. This company really doesn't make sense anymore. This company hasn't made sense in a very long time. Where have you been? Come on, Benster. Simi Valley, thank you for the $20 super chat. Solomonster just wanted to say thank you for everything you do. I think I can speak for all of us saying we really do appreciate it. Well, I don't do these streams if you guys aren't here to join me. So I'm glad that on short notice you were able to come on out and hear me rant and rave for a little over an hour now. Sometimes you just got to get it off your chest, right? Some of these names don't bother me as much as others. It's just the idea that this keeps happening. This is now becoming a regular occurrence. This is not like a one-time thing. Marcus Metcalf, I have a feeling Triple H turned the job back over to Johnny Ace rather than it being taken away from him. Had to have been hard for him to make these calls. Well, Johnny Ace has been making these calls now for a while. He's been back in the fold now for several months. But I think Triple H is absolutely being edged out. He is being iced out of the equation. I mean, it's obvious. Whatever position of power he is in, his power has waned. Because if he had any power or influence, some of the people that have been cut over the last 6 months would still be working for this company. He had enough sense to go out and bring Samoa Joe back, because even he realized what a dumb move that was. And I don't even know what Joe's status is at this point. We haven't heard much about him since he, vacated the championship in NXT. But if Triple H had any real power, let's be honest, okay? Even before this little heart episode that he had, heart attack, whatever it was, if he had any real power or influence, we would not be seeing half the shit that we're seeing. These are his people, in a lot of cases, that are being massacred and then tossed into the dumpster in the back alley. Epsilon Sama, Adam Bulge Cole, managing Keith Lee when? Keith Lee might be the one managing Adam Cole very soon. Ricardo De Jesus, thank you for the $10. Feels like I've reached my breaking point with WWE. Been a fan since 2002 and want to continue being a fan, but these releases make me never want to support them again. This honestly just sucks. Definitely sucks. There's no doubt about that. Cameron Spencer, thank you for the $4.99. Do you believe that Vince thinks that stuff like this is funny and finds it humorous to rile up his fan base? Well, he did crack that joke on the conference call a few months ago when he was asked about AEW. And he made a comment to the effect of, well, maybe we'll give them some more talent. Yeah, I think there is part of him that actually does find some humor in this. We saw it on that call. He apparently thought that it was one big joke. Simi Valley, in my opinion, it is time for AEW to start making cuts to their roster so they can sign guys like Lee and Kross. Well, look, AEW is going to be making cuts at some point in the future. I don't know when. Tony Khan is not going to keep everybody forever. And when the time comes that AEW does start to, cut people from its roster, we'll see who the people are that they cut. Some people have full-time deals. Some people, I don't know that everybody is necessarily signed to a full-time deal. At some point, something has to give, though, and their roster will become bloated enough. They can't sign everybody. They're going to have to make some room. We have not yet seen AEW go on a firing binge the way the WWE has been doing them. That doesn't mean that at some point they won't release talent as well. But we have yet to see that. They've gotten rid of a few people here and there for various reasons, but, outside of Ring of Honor basically releasing its entire roster, which is what happened last week, or preparing to release its entire roster, you don't really see this anywhere else. And part of this also is just a product of WWE signing so many friggin' people. They went on a hiring binge, in part because they wanted to keep talent away from AEW and other companies. So they just signed all these people without having any real ideas for what to do with them. They just stockpiled talent. It's like all the hoarders, the COVID hoarders during the pandemic who bought all the toilet paper and all the paper towels. You would open their closet and you would see stacks and stacks of fucking toilet paper. That's what WWE did. They hoarded all of these talents. And then they look at the books and they go, why do we have so many people under contract? Who are these people? Let's get rid of them. WWE is one giant COVID hoarder. Paulo, welcome. It's a brand new Sound Off superstar. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Ryan Spies, Keith Lee hitting a pounce on Marco's stunt. I rest my case. He might hit a pounce on Marco's stunt, he might knock him into, another wrestling company. Lord Frieza, how the fuck do you mess up Keith Lee or Karrion Kross? I just don't get it. Uffman Entertainment, what's going through the minds at 2K headquarters? A lot of cussing going on. Throwing furniture, probably. Leo Flores, people always say it when this happens, but AEW can really beef up their women's division with some of these cuts. Crazy Casey, thank you for the $1.49. Professor John Gotti, dropping a Hundy bomb here on the Thursday stream. Pardon my French, but Putain que I'm completely butchering that. I'm not even going to try to say that. I was trying to go into it just naturally. Wasn't even going to take a breath, and I just completely butchered it. Making money at releasing talent for budget. Get them Solomonster, give WWE the business, please. All I'm doing is stating my case and stating my opinion. I'm telling it to you like it is. You know, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I feel the way I do. I apologize for nothing. What you see is what you get. This is how I feel. And I get very, animated sometimes because this is the sort of thing that just shouldn't be happening. When quality talents are butchered and have precious months and years of their careers, when they're in the prime, physical prime of their careers, wasted away doing absolutely nothing, that shit bothers me. Yes, they got paid. If it's only about the money, then I guess they got paid. But a lot of these guys, they're not just there to get paid. They want to contribute. They want to build their name. They want to win championships. They want to be in the main event of WrestleMania. They want to do all these things. And I think then they get there and they kind of see the way things really are. And it's got to be a real eye-opening experience for them to see how things really work. And very frustrating, I would imagine it is for a lot of these people as well. Once they get there, it's almost like their dreams are crushed when they see things for what they really are. But Professor, thank you. Thank you for the $100 bomb. Super Tig Boxy. Is there some Enron kind of scam going on looking at their revenue yet rush to release people? Vince needs to be ousted like Inoki from New Japan or he will destroy the company. Even Roman is not safe this way. JM Diaz, thank you for the $9.99. Appreciate that. So we have DJ T Cartoons in the chat saying that according to Andrew Zarian, 4 of the wrestlers who were released were due to not getting the vaccine. So I would ask if somebody can just confirm that for me. I can't look right now. I was wondering if that might be the case. I don't want to say who I was wondering if that applied to them or not. But there have been some rumors about some of the names on that list when it comes to that sort of thing. So that would not surprise me. That still does not excuse the way that some of these people were booked on television, though. Even if that turns out to be the case with some of these talents, if it's the talents I'm thinking about, it does not excuse the poor booking on television and some of the things that they did with these people. WWE does not get a pass for that. Regis Cook with the $5 super chat. I'm surprised a name change for the company hasn't happened and wrestling is not taken out. WWE has forgotten where it came from. Wrestling. Tuxedo T Servo, after all Keith Lee and Mia Yim went through this year. This is their holiday present from WWE. Disgusting. The epitome of a soulless corporation. Level 20 Factotum with the $5 super chat. You have to wonder what Triple H is thinking about all of his projects getting the axe like this. Anderson Blitz. Nick Khan has a special place waiting for him in hell. Wow. Anderson Blitz just took it to a whole other level there with that super chat. I don't know if I would go that far. I will say that the COVID stuff. I've heard and read stuff about Nia Jax when it comes to that, and I never knew whether or not it was legit because you read things all the time online. That's why I never really talked about it on the podcast. I would be curious if she was one of the people that was in reference to. But you know what? Whether the COVID stuff applies to Nia Jax or not, even on Nia Jax, my point still stands. Nia Jax should have been off television anyway. Nia Jax had no business being on TV. She contributed nothing to the product on Raw or SmackDown. NXT was the place that she should have been in NXT. NXT was meant for people like her. She is someone who would have benefited, I think, from going back down there. Rico, the official. Why did they sign Eva Marie only to release her? I mean, you could say that about any of the people on this list. We knew she wasn't going to last because no one wanted her to come back in the first place. Scott Woodford said CM Punk was right. Connor Phillips, thank you for the super chat. John Sanborn, how long before Asuka hits the chopping block? Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. It does worry me, though. You know, Asuka, we hear so much about how they're investing in younger talent now and trying to phase out some of the older talents. You know, they do have an aging roster. You know, Bobby Lashley is in his mid-40s. Even someone like Damian Priest, who's been getting pushed pretty hard, is in his late 30s. Asuka just turned 40. Shayna Baszler, I believe, is either 39 or 40. What does their future look like in this company? Ron Funches, if that is the real Ron Funches, which I'm assuming it's not. But Mr. Funches, thank you for the $4.99. Flamethrower Fluff Sauls. Oh, speaking of Asuka, there she is. Looking very happy here. Flamethrower, how many super chats do you need to start the Solomonster Wrestling Federation with some of the released wrestlers from this year? I'll be part of the company, but I don't want to be the booker. Be the booker is a stressful job. Jose Palacios, do you believe WWE will release more talents before the year is over? I don't even want to venture a guess. I wouldn't have thought that they would have released another 18 so soon after they got rid of all the other people they got rid of over the spring and the summer. I would hope not. I would hope the answer is no. But I do believe that by early next year, we're going to hear about these spring cleaning cuts probably after WrestleMania. Yeah, I believe we absolutely are going to get more of them. I'm hoping, though, that we don't... I mean, how shitty would it be if WWE pulled a stunt like this in December right before Christmas? Right around the holidays. I mean, Thanksgiving is only a few weeks away. We're already in the holiday season. Imagine WWE in a month or month and a half turning around and getting rid of another dozen people right before Christmas. Merry Christmas. Wouldn't put it past them. Like I said, numbers on a spreadsheet, names on a piece of paper. It's all these people are. That's corporate America in a nutshell. WWE is no different than any of those companies. Andrew Jorlog dropped a $50 super chat. Andrew, thank you. He says, been gone a lot lately. Glad to catch up. WWE is either about to sell or just completely lost. They keep handing talent to AEW, Impact, and New Japan. Insane. McMahon needs to step down before he destroys his brand any further. Bulu Fatulu with the 5. Solomonster, remember the song Seeing Red from the first Tough Enough season. Yeah, we're not doing music stuff right now, but I do remember that. Jose Brooks, or Joseph. Jose, look at this. My God, you got me flustered here. Joseph, I just renamed you Jose. You are now officially Jose Brooks. I will continue to say this company is now WCW 2000 with money. Is this all proof Vince 1000% hates NXT stars because he didn't create them? I just think if Triple H had such a different view of what a star should be in this company, if his view of what a star is differed so greatly from his father-in-law, then why was he in charge in the first place of their developmental program? If there was such a disconnect between what Triple H looked for in a talent and what Vince McMahon looks for in a star and in a talent, why was Triple H in that position to begin with? I like the Triple H version of NXT. That's the version of NXT that I miss, that they have now killed and they have done away with. But if this is not the version of wrestling that Vince McMahon wants, and if these are not the kinds of wrestlers that Vince McMahon looks for, then what the fuck have they been doing for the last 5, 6, 7 years? It's been a waste of time. You've developed all of this talent. You've had this developmental program going for so long. Now you're just turning around and blowing it up. Then what was the point of putting Triple H in charge or Triple H going full indie? If Vince McMahon was going to turn around and say that that's not my vision of pro wrestling, I'm just going to blow it all up and get rid of all your people. All that means is the last 5 or 6 years have been a complete waste of everybody's time. How come these two didn't get on the same page sooner than this? Vince McMahon wasn't paying any attention whatsoever to what was going on in NXT. He didn't see where the talent was coming from and how they were being booked and how they were being positioned on TV. He was that hands-off with things. He woke up one day and said, oh, gee, let's take a trip down to the PC. And he took a trip down there. He was probably mortified by what he saw. He probably saw all these 5'8" people walking around. People like me, walking around. All these indie stars walking around. What are we doing here? We got to clean house. Why did it take so long for them to figure out this is what Vince McMahon wants? Ryan Spies, if you didn't see, Keith Lee confirmed on Instagram that Bearcat was not his idea. I think most of us figured out that Bearcat was not his idea. All the WWE drones tried to explain it away because they'll defend to the death. They will defend any decision this company makes. And I will say there are people on the AEW side who do the same thing. You have stands, right? You have drones on both sides, on WWE and on AEW. Any decision that Tony Khan makes, any decision that Vince McMahon makes, they will defend to the death because to them it's like a team sport. It's very tribalistic. It's disgusting the way things are on social media now. So when the Bearcat thing came about, I can't tell you how many people I saw. Oh, it's a tribute to Bearcat Wright. He was the first black world champion. Maybe you ought to read a book sometime. It's a tribute to Bearcat Wright. All of a sudden, Keith Lee, who is an established name in NXT. How long was he in NXT for? How many years was he in NXT for? And on the indies. And he gets called up to the main roster as himself, as Keith Lee. He beat Randy Orton as Keith Lee. He was in the Royal Rumble as Keith Lee. He was at the Survivor Series, fist-bumping Roman Reigns as Keith Lee, not Bearcat. All of a sudden one day, I'm a Bearcat. I'm a fucking cat. Of course it wasn't his fucking idea. We all know whose idea it was. I could have told you that. All of a sudden, he's going to pay tribute to Bearcat Wright out of the clear blue sky. He's going to pay tribute to Bearcat Wright. Everybody became a Bearcat Wright fan overnight. Give me a fucking break. These people don't give two shits about Bearcat Wright. And neither does Vince McMahon, for the record. No, they had to gimmick up Keith Lee. They had to gimmick him up. So Vince McMahon went deep in his memory bank and said, hey, I remember a black guy who used to be a champion many years ago. That Bearcat Wright guy. We'll call Keith Lee Bearcat Wright. We'll put claws on his tights. We'll put a graphic on the screen that says, coming up next, Keith Lee claws his way to Monday Night Raw. I'll make him scream and squeal when he goes down to the ring, and I'll make him scratch himself and lick his own ass, because that's what a cat does. Of course, he didn't come up with Bearcat on his own. I'm not yelling at you, Ryan. I'm just saying. It was nonsense from the moment I fucking heard it. Oh, it's a Keith Lee tribute to Bearcat Wright. Give me a fucking break. Lord Shura. I literally gasped when I saw the title of your video. I had no idea. Insane. Let me, switch the music up here. Oh, dried chicken without flavor. I predict Kyle O'Reilly and Kevin Owens will not re-sign with WWE. O'Reilly and Owens, New Japan, AEW, and GCW bound. Bulu, I did see your other super chats here. Let's try to keep it wrestling related here, okay? He said GTA Vice City has the best soundtrack. I agree. Buy or sell Jesse Pinkman or Shane Vendrell, a better sidekick. I'll go with Jesse Pinkman. Let's see here. Bulu again. Keep or delete. Boy, Bulu, you're going nuts here, buddy. Thank you for the 5, though. Sunny in 96 or Stephanie McMahon in 03, who was hot. I mean, come on, dude. I don't know. I don't know who is hotter. Nathan Hedquist, thank you for the $5. Zachary Francis, could you see Kross, Keith, and Ember going to AEW? I could see any number of people on this list going to AEW. And I think the names that you mentioned are absolutely possibilities. I think all 3 of them, frankly, are possibilities. And Mia Yim in the women's division there as well. Bulu again, keep or delete DX as the Nation of Domination or NWO as the Horsemen. You know, both were funny at the time. I always thought that NWO as the Horsemen, as disrespectful as it was pretty funny. Kevin Nash is a funny guy. In those skits, when they do them, it's, he's pretty humorous usually in those segments, even though the Horsemen were not very happy about it when it happened. And Vic Mackey or Walter White, I'll go Vic Mackey. Sean Waters, $5 super chat. I have no words, but man, I am really concerned for Triple H after having heart surgery and seeing more of his kids being rejected again. Ted Evans, thank you for the 20. Appreciate it. I stopped watching and recording the weekly WWE shows last month after about 25 plus years. Just boring and repetitive. Still watch the old stuff and pay-per-views. AEW is just more exciting. Would you still watch as much if you did not podcast? WWE, no. No. The weekly television, no. I would still pay attention to what's going on, the pay-per-views and stuff. Would I be watching Monday Night Raw every week? No. Would I be watching SmackDown? That's 50-50. NXT? No. Sad, right? I mean, here you go. Ted Evans, 25 plus years. This guy's a fan. I've been a fan a little bit longer than that. Closer to 35 years for me. And it's really sad. I get a lot of emails and messages from people who say the same thing. They have given up on watching the product altogether, or they have given up on the weekly television shows. They only watch YouTube shows, podcasts like this one to keep up with what's going on. And I love it. I appreciate the fact that there are people out there who, rely on me to keep up with what's going on in wrestling, because they're wrestling fans. Once it's in your blood, you can't get it out. When you're a wrestling fan, you're a wrestling fan for life. I believe that. It's hard to let go, even when it sucks, because you want to like it, you want to love it, you want to enjoy it, you remember the good days, right? The good old days. And you hope that one day I'm going to come on here and tell you, man, boy, you missed a hell of a Monday Night Raw. Even Raw last week wasn't all that bad. But, you hear from all these people who are just dropping like flies, all these longtime fans, where are they going? They're giving up because they just can't take it anymore. They can't stomach a lot of what they're seeing on television. More and more people are just simply throwing their hands up in the air and giving up. Team Forward, Roman Reigns will take over WWE before Triple H does. I think you're right. I think you make a good point. Albie says Solomonster looks good to be in his 50s. Now you've aged me by quite a bit. I've been a wrestling fan. Please, I've been a wrestling fan since I was 4 years old. 4 or 5 years old. Probably 5. Bulu is back. Look at this with another $5. Keep or delete Point Break 1991 or Die Hard 1. My goodness, Bulu. Of all the nights for this. But Bulu is rocking it, man. Bulu was with us last night on the Dynamite stream, and hopefully he'll be with us tomorrow night on the Rampage stream. Die Hard. Die Hard is one of my favorite movies. Marek 13. I know we say this every time this happens, but at this rate, we seriously might end up seeing the graphic saying, terrorizing is all elite. Ojali Burgos, days like today make me want to stop being a wrestling fan. It is sad to see. They never even gave Frankie or B-Fab a chance, and Nia was my favorite. Yeah, the B-Fab thing, I hate to say I told you so, but, when it comes to Hit Row, look, Vince McMahon might go all in on Top Dollar as a singles. Right? PW Insider said that a few weeks ago. The plan was for Top Dollar to be the breakout single star of the group, and Isaiah Swerve Scott would be doing a tag team with Ashanti the Adonis. In NXT, it was Swerve Scott who was really getting the singles push. I could see him going all in on Top Dollar, and then Swerve and Ashanti just sort of fade into the background. I hope I'm wrong, but Hit Row's already lost one of their members, and they haven't even been on TV a full month yet, so doesn't look good. Doesn't look good for Hit Row. Bulu wants to know, Stand By Me or The Goonies? I'm a Goonies guy. Hulkling93 with BFAB gone. Top Dollars couldn't make the main roster, has already aged poorly, which you predicted. Yeah, I wonder why. I wasn't going to say anything because, look, I'm sure he's not in a good headspace right now. I'm sure, you know, he's upset about BFAB getting fired and was very friendly with her, and I don't want to pile on the guy, but when you post stuff like that, like he did a few weeks ago, and tweet something like, well, you know, this is when Hit Row got called up. And there were a lot of people like me who expressed concern over the future of Hit Row, right? It's already bearing fruit. I hate to admit it, but already my ranting and raving about Hit Row being called up to SmackDown is already bearing fruit because one member is now gone. But I was just expressing, you know, my concern for them because I enjoyed them on NXT. And apparently so many people were tweeting at Top Dollar that he started blocking people on Twitter and lashing out. And if you tweet anything to me about, you know, me not doing well on the main roster, this is the biggest moment of my life. If you tweet anything like that to me, I'm going to block you. All those people that you guys talk about, obviously they couldn't hack it or they weren't ready for the main roster. They couldn't cut promo, whatever it was that he said. Well, would he say the same thing about BFAB? Probably not. And it just goes to show that you got to be careful when you make stupid comments like that on social media because it's going to come back to bite you on the ass. That comment is now coming back to bite Top Dollar on his ass. See, I say it the right way. Top Dollar. I'll say it like Sonya Deville said at that time, where she said Top Dollar. Dry Chicken. Vince McMahon, Nick Khan, Johnny Ace, and Brucey. Decisions comes to show us WWE are a backwards-thinking company. Skull Dipper, thank you for the 1999. No message, just showing some love. Thank you, Skull Dipper. Groovy Goose, Vince and Bruce found the closet Hit Row was hiding in. I guess, you know, hey, I guess they did. Once they got called out, we knew they found the closet they were hiding in. Sirius, Revolution 2022, looking pretty stacked. It is looking stacked right about now, isn't it? Bulu with the $5. Pee-wee's Big Adventure or Police Academy? Pee-wee. Behind the Fiends with the $4.99. I would love to see Keith Lee in AEW. I just feel that promotion would make money hand over fist with a monster like him and his skill set. You know, plus also, I'd like to see some more big guys who can really go. You know, they have a few in AEW. We see Luchasaurus out there doing some pretty cool things. Brian Cage, they are doing absolutely nothing with in AEW. Brian Cage may have one foot out the door, frankly, in AEW. Powerhouse Hobbs, he's a young guy who's on the ascent. I see bigger things in his future. Wardlow is only a babyface turn away, I think, from being a breakout star for them. Keith Lee is he's not overly tall, but he's a big guy who can go in there and I think would work well with any number of guys on that roster, especially the smaller they are. The way he would throw around some of those guys, I think Keith Lee would excel and would do well. He would stand out on the AEW roster. Bulu, what is your favorite character from the movie Watchmen? The blue guy who was naked. What was his name? I'll go with him. I thought the Watchmen movie was just fucking boring, by the way. Never read the graphic novel, though. Ted Evans, do you think any Ring of Honor guys will be a surprise at Full Gear? If so, who would you like to see? I don't believe any of them are going to be a surprise because they're still under contract until the end of the year. Ring of Honor has a pay-per-view coming up in a month. Final Battle is happening on December 11th, so no, I don't see anybody appearing at Full Gear. Dr. Manhattan, that's right. Dr. Manhattan, thank you. He's the blue guy. Forgot his name for a second. That movie was like Monday Night Raw. That movie was way too long. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. Matt Gruber, WWE clearly does not know what the fuck it is doing. I mean, in terms of talent, I mean, they're making money. So in some cases, they do know what they're doing. They know how to continue to make money. When they sign these deals, these TV contracts and these Saudi Arabia deals, They obviously know how to continue the money flow into the company. When it comes to talent and creating new stars, I would agree. Jonathan Corky, Keith Lee in the G1 next year would be a beauty. Like there is a Wrestle Kingdom, right there, he says, is a Wrestle Kingdom main eventer. Ghostros123, thank you for the $5. I appreciate that. Dried chicken without flavor with a $3 super chat. Triple H tries to buy Ring of Honor with his business investors. So Triple H goes from raiding all of Ring of Honor's talent and creating his own Ring of Honor to leaving WWE the way that Shane left WWE, right, all those years ago, and actually buying Ring of Honor. That is an interesting scenario. It's not going to happen, but that is a very interesting scenario. As rich as Triple H is, I don't think that he is going to be able to afford Ring of Honor if Sinclair is selling the company. But it is an interesting idea. Marcus the Entertainer, Chris Kresge was the best head of creative in WWE. You know, Chris Kresge is the reason why when people ask me what do I think was the best year creatively for WWE, I always say the year 2000. The year 2000 was the best creative year, probably my favorite year. For WWE television, and he had a lot to do with it. And the people in that company mocked him. He was mocked because he would storyboard things out. But there's a reason why I think it was the best year creatively. It's a shame he passed away all those years ago from cancer. Behind the Fiends with a $4.99 super chat. Is it ridiculous to think that maybe, just maybe, Triple H leaves and goes and forms his own promotion or buys one like Impact? Boy, a lot of people, they got Triple H out the door here. Look, I'm not saying Triple H is going to leave and go hook up with another company, but what I am saying is that if it wasn't for him being married into the family, I don't think he would be in the company right now. I think that he would be gone. I think that's the only thing keeping him around. Everything he built is being torn down. He can't be happy about that. His days in the ring are likely over, especially if this heart situation, whatever it was, this heart episode was as serious as it looks like. I don't think we're ever going to see Triple H back in the ring again. Hey, Brian Blair, was that a Solomonster, a Hulkamania super chat I just saw for $100? I'm going to get to your message. Thank you, sir. I caught that before it disappeared. I caught that $100 bomb you just dropped on my head. Jacob Barnes with the 10 spot. Kyle O'Reilly has to leave WWE. I hate to say it, but he has probably hit his ceiling in NXT because they will never put the title on him, and the main roster would never book him correctly. They have him teaming with Von Wagner. They are the most awkward pairing that I have ever seen in my entire life. I had friends whose parents, they were in such an unhappy marriage, they wished death upon each other. Those couples were not as awkward as Von Wagner and Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly, between him and Gargano, if one of them is going to leave next month when their contracts are up, I don't think it's going to be Gargano. I think it's going to be O'Reilly. And part of it with Gargano is that, you know, his wife also works there. Yeah, Kyle needs to move on. We need to get a Red Dragon reunion going. But again, that's, you know, I admit, a lot of these names, I find myself, I envision them, you know, plugging them into certain spots at AEW, but AEW can't pick everybody up. I think Tony Khan needs to make a wish list of who's out there. Who does he want? Who does he need? Who does he think would fill some kind of void that they have on the AEW roster? Do they need a bigger guy? Do they need to shore up the women's division? Are they looking for a luchador? Like, he's got to make a wish list and figure out, you know, where do we have some weaknesses? Where do we have some holes? Who would fill these roles best? Make a list of you know, 5 people and go after them and target them and try to bring them in. Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish doing a Red Dragon reunion. Bobby Fish is already using the Red Dragon music. All he's got to do is come over. Imagine Red Dragon in there against the Bucks and against the Lucha Bros and against FTR and Jurassic Express and all the different teams they have. It's very appealing. Serious. Crazy how WWE content creators are booking better than WWE creative. These releases are depressing. Lamont Washington, thank you for the 10 spot, Lamont. Appreciate that. Ted Evans again with the $5. Do you think AEW has enough TV time to showcase the talents they have now? Feel like Tony is doing his best, but that is always in the back of my mind. Well, they've got 2 television shows and they have 2 YouTube shows. So yes, I think they have enough television time to rotate people out. One thing AEW does not do yet, they might at some point, are house shows and live events. I don't ever imagine them going to like a full-time live event schedule like WWE used to have. But they might want to consider, you know, putting on some more shows on the road. That way people can kind of get more reps in the ring and work in front of live crowd. Because they have, again, their roster is only going to get bigger. I don't think they need more television shows, though. So perhaps some live events would help alleviate that. Yeezus with the $4.99. Thanksgiving with the McMahons is going to be awkward this year. Triple H is going to give Mr. McMahon the same death stare as King Harold gave to Shrek. Asuka approves. Couldn't have timed that any better. Hey, Little Caramel Girl 20 just joined the not the super chat, the channel. What happened to Little Caramel Girl 1 through 19 is what I want to know. But number 20, welcome. I feel like she's part of the Dark Order or something. Number 20 has joined us. And J2CC4 just subscribed. Yeah, if you haven't already done so, guys, if you're new to the channel, hit that sub button. We got a lot of good content going up, and I'm live every single week. Not just tonight for this breaking news. And hit that like button, too, because that's going to help this video out a lot. So please, if nothing else, give the video a like. Help get this video in the recommended so more people can see it and hear. I want people to hear the message that I'm delivering here to WWE. I want my voice to be carried. I want my voice to reach the ivory tower over there in Stanford. Not that they give a shit. Clearly they don't give a shit what any of us have to say. But that doesn't mean that we still shouldn't express ourselves and let them know how we feel. God gave you a voice, or whatever deity you believe in. Your mother, your father. You have a voice, use it. You were given a voice for a reason. Bulu, Darkman, 1990, or Meteor Man, 1993. Better movie. I saw Darkman, I did not see Meteor Man, so I'll go with Darkman. Crowfeather Media with the 10 spot. Bruce Prichard and Vince McMahon is like Jordan Belfort and Donnie Azoff in Wolf of Wall Street. NXT 2.0 is the result of a crack addiction. Bulu, worst remake, Point Break 2015, or Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. I didn't see either one. So it wouldn't be fair to me to comment because I didn't see it. Rizzo, by the way, this also does not stop people like me who believe this company is going to be sold soon. Yep, I've addressed that already ad nauseum on the podcast, whether or not I think they're going to be for sale. I absolutely think that the company is going to be sold in the next few years. I don't think it's going to be happening in the near term, though. I see it as something where maybe at the end of their television contract, NBC Universal maybe makes a play for them, and then maybe other companies come in and make some kind of an offer. I could see NBC Universal more than Disney or Amazon or something one day buying the company. Absolutely, I could see it. All the moves they're making in terms of, kind of tightening the purse strings, the budget cuts and everything, it definitely plays into the idea of a future sale. Jeff Price, between the news of Ring of Honor, the Jon Moxley news, and all the cuts today, minus Nia and Eva Marie, it has been a rough week to be a wrestling fan. JN Sermons, man, that Asuka animation is getting a lot of play tonight, but I love it, because every time you see Asuka pop up, that means we got a new sub. Chubub Dreamer, just subscribe to the channel. But JN Sermons, why does Vince hate WWE? Have not watched since 2014. Well, boy, have you missed a lot in those 7 years. He doesn't hate WWE. I think he hates what he saw WWE becoming and what Triple H was turning it into. Now he's sticking his nose in NXT, and he's making all these changes and screwing everything up. Hey, John Davis, thank you for becoming a channel member. He is a brand new Sound Off superstar. You get access to all of the members-only Q&A videos that I've done. And there'll be more of those coming up soon, too. So check out the perks that our channel members get. Warhawk Rambo. What a fucking great name. Holy shit. Warhawk Rambo. I gotta put some of that, I want to put some of that black paint under my eyes now. I should have done that before I started streaming. I felt like I was going in for battle here as I went live tonight. I should have put the fucking black paint under my eyes. Warhawk says fans should chant "Please retire" at Vince. They're not going to. The next time Vince McMahon makes an appearance on television, the fans will do what they always do. Because they love singing to his theme song, because he's got great theme music. So they're gonna sing and chant "No Chance in Hell," and they're gonna bow. That's what they do when Vince McMahon comes out. They bow. Those same people will talk shit about him on social media. But when he walks to the ring, they'll bow. Stephen Chappa, thank you for the 5. Plus Ultra Adrian. Vince should be ashamed of himself. He ruins Kross and Lee, then fires them because of budget cuts, and he wonders why they can't create new stars. I hope those who were fired can find work. Joseph Manna, it would not surprise me if Kevin Dunn took over the company if Vince croaked at this point. AJ Daniels, at this point, only somebody like Randy Orton is safe in this company. Kevin Owens better get out when he gets the chance. You know, I actually think Roman Reigns is probably more protected and safer than even Randy Orton is at this point. I really feel that way. Pillow v. Pillow. I can't wait to see Blake Christian, Trey Baxter, kill it again in GCW. Hey, Jay Cino, thank you for the sub. King Bling Blah, how to impeach Vince McMahon, WWE for sale. Well, it doesn't work that way, so there will be no impeachment of Vince McMahon. Anybody watch that television? I don't watch it. I've heard good things about it. But anybody watch that television show, Succession? How would it play out with WWE? How would such a scenario play out with Vince McMahon, I wonder? Dry Chicken Without Flavor, Keith Lee, the newest member of Bullet Club in 2022. Pedro Velasquez. It is sad, Solomonster, that this legendary wrestling company is turned into this. WWE seems to only care about their corporate agenda. Vince needs to step aside. John Davis with the $5 super chat, no message, just showing some support for the channel. John, thank you. Now the World 138, they got to see the world and make more money than I can ever imagine. The creek always rises to the top. I assume you mean cream rises to the top. I've never heard of the creek rising. Well, I guess a creek could rise to the top if it filled with enough water, I guess, right? Mr. Andrew. Can't believe that Keith Lee said that he is happy Vince was so hands-on with his gimmick because it tells him what Vince likes. How did that work for you? Yeah. Didn't work out too well, unfortunately, for Keith Lee. You know why? Because apparently Vince doesn't know what he likes. What he likes changes from one day to the next. You know, that happens to old people, unfortunately, when they get older. They may think something one day and think something completely different the next day. It reminds me of Uncle June on The Sopranos and his slow, his slow, unfortunate demise into dementia that he had on the show. I remember the one episode where he called Tony Blundetto Tony Egg. This is a Tony Egg moment for Vince McMahon. Fire Panda 007, do you think Roman will still be the champion at next year's WrestleMania? And if so, who should beat him? Yes, I believe he will be the champion at least through WrestleMania. I think it's probably going to be Brock Lesnar who beats him. Brock or Drew. Honestly, though, Drew they had a great match at Survivor Series last year. I'd love to see it again. I don't know. I'm not feeling Drew as the guy, though, to end this long reign. And this goes to the issue of them failing to create enough new stars. I can't see anybody on that SmackDown roster right now, outside of Brock Lesnar, who's part-time at best, being the one, like, I look at him and go, that's the guy. Like, that's the guy that should be the one to beat Roman Reigns. I see Brock Lesnar and that's it. That's a problem because they have not built anybody up. What have they been doing? Roman has been champion for over a year. They have failed to create one or two people that you could look at and believably go, that should be the person to end the championship reign of Roman Reigns. There is nobody like that on the SmackDown roster right now. They don't exist. They've done a terrible, terrible job of building up people who could believably beat Roman Reigns and be ready for their position like that. Kane in the chat says, how old is Dirt? Vince is 2 years younger. Drew Johnson, thank you for the 5. It's sad, but honestly, at this point with WWE, none of this surprises me. Juan Bermudez, I really can't say all of these cuts surprise me, but I can't say I'm not disappointed by this development. Xander Wolf, 2001. Karrion Kross main roster run was doomed from the start. It was doomed the moment that Jeff Hardy rolled him up and pinned him. Putting the mask on him and making him look like some, S&M freak didn't help. Everybody was comparing him to Demolition. Oh, the mask looked like Demolition. Well, the difference is that Demolition, back in the 80s, when they were dressed like that, with the face paint and the masks and the little, silver things on their gear, actually looked fucking cool. There was nothing about Karrion Kross walking out in that mask that made him look cool. What made him look cool was coming to the ring with that great entrance and the beautiful woman, the smoke show. The moment they took all of that away from him and they kind of main rosterized him, that was the moment they went wrong with Karrion Kross. That was the beginning of the end for Karrion Kross. He never recovered from that. Andrew Coogie. Actually, before we get to Andrew, Bret Hart, one of my favorite super chatters, is joining us. Bret Hart, I feel really bad for my country fellow Katrina Cortez and all of the international talents that can have visa issues. She was just getting more TV. Andrew Coogie. Is it Coogie or Kugel? I think it's Kugel. I'm thinking of Kagis. Oni Lorcan's release hits the hardest. I will miss that great theme. The charge to the ring with one finger in the air at his hard-hitting style. Ayo, 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 wayo. King Bling Blah. Triple H to start his own wrestling company. Is it possible? No, I don't see that happening. Stephen Fees. That legit was Ron Funches. Was it? It's hard to tell sometimes. That's why I said I wasn't sure it was the real Ron Funches, but obviously if it was, I did welcome him. But it's hard to tell sometimes, Usually there's a little check mark next to someone's name. You try to see if it's a verified account or not. Well, I'll tell you what, if it was Ron Funches, then I thank him again. That'd be pretty funny if it was, and I was like, that's not the real Ron Funches. That's not the real Ron Funches. I love Ron. I hope he's doing well. Sean Waters with the $10 super chat. Legit reason to think it was Vince ever a genius. Just remember Vince was in his 40s and 50s is obviously different than Vince in his mid to late 70s. I mean, can't someone say, Vince, you're old, get out? They could, but he's the boss. So you're going to walk up to your boss and say, hey, you're fucking old, get out of here. So, I mean, it's easy for you and me to sit here and we kind of see the product on television and say, my God, who's in charge of this? Let's make a change. If you work for the company, you probably walk around scared to piss the guy off, right? And it's not so easy. I wish that the yes men and the people he surrounds himself with would have a nice little chat with him. But if it hasn't happened by now, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen at all. Or it would have happened already. Dry chicken without flavor. WWE stands against AEW stands in a slap fight or an Inferno match. Can't we just lock him in Hell in a Cell and throw away the key? DHV smoking trees. This is Vince's way of flipping the game board because AEW was beating NXT. Now the fun is ruined for everyone. Professor John Gotti dropping another 50. Jump back into the stream to hear that legendary rant on the genius surrounding the whole Bearcat situation. It's funny because it is true. It's funny, but it's sad. It really is. Professor, thank you. Too sweet me, bro. Speaking as a fan of Joshi... oh gosh. There's a way to pronounce that word, and I caught myself. I almost butchered it. Puro. Joshi Puro. I fear the worst for Sarai, Asuka, and Io Shirai. It would not surprise me because this company is insane. Oh, Sarai has no chance. Sarai has no chance. I hate to say it, but she has absolutely no chance. Bulu Fatulu. Sorry, Solomonster. I will try to keep it wrestling. I just love your insight on things. My bad. No problem, Bulu. I still answered him. But tonight, this is a different kind of stream tonight. We are covering this unfortunate situation here. But you can always ask whatever you want. But probably better to save some of it for the stream tomorrow night. Because we'll be live after Rampage tomorrow night. And obviously, if there's any more WWE news or cuts, hopefully not. But if there are, we'll talk about it on the stream tomorrow night as well. Captain String Cheese. Some of these names. I'm just... let me... it's been a while since I've switched up the music here. Let's go back to the funky music. Yeah, let's get some funky music going on. Try to lighten the mood up a little bit here. It's all doom and gloom. Captain String Cheese, I'm just sad that WWE sucks. And AEW doesn't do it for me. You know, that's the problem. You have WWE fans who really do want to like the product, but they don't like AEW in some cases, and that's fine. So if they don't watch AEW and they fall out of favor with WWE, yeah, you have these wrestling fans who really want to like wrestling, and AEW doesn't do it for them. So they want to see WWE do well. They want exciting, fun television with exciting, fun characters, and it's just not happening for a lot of people. Club Fortune. Thanks for this needed rant and FU brand stands. Derek Bailey, $9.99 super chat. With those promos coming to a screeching halt, I am sure Elias is next on the chopping block. Yeah, what the hell happened to Elias? Talk about start and stop push. Guy's walking around in the wilderness somewhere in a cemetery. Elias is dead. Long live Elias. I hope somebody checked on him. I feel like as he was walking out of the cemetery in that last vignette, he tripped over one of the tombstones and hit his head and knocked himself out, and nobody bothered to check on the guy, because we haven't seen him or heard from him ever since. The guy is nowhere to be found. Did anybody do a welfare check on this guy, or do they just not care? Uzziel Montoya. If you're an indie star, how can you look at WWE and say that it is still the best option? It might be your dream, but is it worth all this crap just to get released so soon? I mean, if you're an independent star, you've got to be... I mean, why would you even want to sign with WWE at all? They seem to be making it very clear that they don't want to have anything to do with you. If they didn't create you, and they didn't mold you and sculpt you at their performance center, then... it doesn't seem to me like WWE is all that interested in independent talents the way they were a few years ago. They were more than happy to take the Kevin Owens and the Sami Zayns of the world and the AJ Styles and the Samoa Joes. And some of those guys had some pretty good success. Now the tide is turning. If you are an independent star, why in the world would you want to sign with WWE? At this moment right now, I would want to sign anywhere but WWE. If I can get comparable money somewhere else, it really comes down to the money. I mean, you're either in it for the WWE paycheck, or you're working somewhere else, or working multiple places. You can still make a very good living in wrestling not working for WWE. But these people have to ask themselves, what is it that is most important to them? Do they just want to make a living and support themselves and support their family? and, draw a pretty decent paycheck, or are they in it for some other reason? I cannot envision a good reason why any independent star worth their salt would want to sign right now with WWE. Makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. The L Web 100. If I was an up-and-coming WWE wrestler, I would have to think if they release Wyatt and Strowman, then how can I make a difference? It's a good question. Steven Chappa, thank you for the $20 super chat drop. Dr. NXT Scorpio, I think SmackDown will be my last WWE show that I watch for a while. I'll just stick to listening to Raw and SmackDown reviews as usual and the podcast. Well, I'm always here, you know that. Groovy Goose, this was rough news, but thanks for the stream solo. Thank you, Groovy Goose. Brian Blair, there it is. There's that $100 super chat. He drew a crazy man over here that he dropped earlier. He and the professor have blown me away here tonight. Sad to see anybody lose their job. However, for a good majority of these talents, I feel and hope they find work elsewhere where, without question, they will be able to show the world what they are capable of and will not be held back or stuck with some ridiculous hokey gimmick. Well said. Jason Case, in your opinion, who had a better 2000, Rock or Triple H? Well, that's a tough one because they really carried the company on their back that year. I think it's pretty, I gotta be honest, I think it's pretty even, but if I had to go one over the other, I might give Triple H the slight edge, but it's neck and neck. I mean, those guys, they were in there neck and neck the entire year pretty much. I can't hate on The Rock's work that year, but maybe a slight edge to Triple H. Triple H really found himself and grew into a main eventer at that Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Texas Aggie 1299. It's sad to see what WWE has become. Why would any up-and-coming talent even have a thought of signing with them after seeing how things normally end? It's exactly what I just said. Dry Chicken, Triple H, Stephanie, and their kids will have dinner with Shawn Michaels and his family for the holidays. Triple H and Vince smell trouble at the table. John Falchetta, how bad would WWE screw up Brian Cage? Thanks for watching Raw so I don't have to. I think Brian Cage may have had issues previously in WWE years ago when he was in developmental. I believe he was in developmental for them years ago. I think he looked very different back then. This is when he was smaller, much smaller than he is today. I think he would, I think he would run into the same issues everybody else does. So, as disappointed as perhaps he might be with his spot right now in AEW, I'm not even sure him going to WWE would be all that better. I really don't know that he would be in a much better position than he's in now. Angry Magma, don't you dare forget. I'll see you tomorrow night. Joel Naranjo with the $5 super chat. Hey, Solomonster, keep up the good work. Whatever happened to the NXT Evolve show that was going into plan, and what does the future hold for NXT UK? NXT UK seems to be holding pretty steady at the moment, but I think the show that you were referring to, there was almost like a developmental version of NXT. And they had possibly going under the Evolve name. Some kind of new show they shot a pilot for. I don't think it's going anywhere now because that was before they went with this whole NXT 2.0 thing. So now that they're back to being developmental, there's no need. There's no need for any kind of NXT Evolve show. So I think that pilot they shot might end up as like a hidden gem on the network on Peacock one day. Jonathan Corky, Little Caramel Girl 1 through 19 were future endeavored. I try to joke through the pain. Brendan Toongate, between this and the Ring of Honor news, it has been a bad couple of weeks. Hope all released talents land on their feet. Lee, Moon, and Valkyrie would be great in AEW. And he also says, by the way, the Watchmen graphic novel is so much better than the movie. Highly recommended. I've heard the same. I probably should have read the book before watching the movie. I just thought the movie was way too long and it was just way too boring for me. I probably would enjoy the book more, though, if I read that. Amir with $2 super chat. Tessa versus Nia on the first WoW show. What a fucking match that would be. Tessa Blanchard against Nia Jax. Who do I root for less? Well, I mean, hey, that would be an attraction. That's all I'll say about that. Zach Bird. These releases need to give GCW a shot. They all can make GCW a real third brand like ECW was. Can GCW afford them? You're talking like GCW would pick up a whole bunch of different people. I don't know what their talent budget is. GCW is definitely making waves, though. They have created a buzz around all of their events. Actually, I guess I don't know what they're going to do now. I believe Jon Moxley is their world champion, so they could be facing a situation where, depending on how long Moxley is gone for, because he, of course, we talked about last night, checked into inpatient alcohol rehab. I believe he is the reigning GCW champion, so I don't know what that means for the championship. Loop Cannon, is that true? He says he got hit by a truck today. I hope that's not true. I hope you're okay. Bulu Fatulu, Vince Russo or Bulu Fatulu, who got more heat with wrestling fans? I think Russo. Jeffrey Hall, the only person that can do anything with the company is Shane McMahon. Bring him back and everything will be good. Doesn't work that way. Shane is, I don't know that Shane would come in and necessarily turn things around. I don't know that the answer lies with the McMahon family. I don't know. But I know Vince McMahon, 76 years old, obviously his creative vision is not doing it for a lot of people. Andrew Kugel, where should Oney Lorcan go next? I think he's going to tear it up on the independent scene, and then ultimately, you know, I could honestly see him landing in like an MLW or an Impact. But I also think like him in New Japan, I think his style would fit in well there too. I think Oney is going to be just fine. I think Biff Busick, I should say, is going to be just fine. Fire Panda 007, what do you think played the biggest part in the failure of The Fiend and Bray's release? If the rumors are to be believed, it might have been the fact that he was too invested in his character, and it sounds like Vince McMahon may have just got sick and tired of it. Didn't want to deal with him anymore. Figured giving it to Alexa Bliss, he wasn't going to have to deal with the headaches. Let her play the role of the Fiend, and she'll do whatever they ask her to do. I think he may have cared too much. That might have been what did him in. Kyle Mayer with the 1999. Everyone gets angry when this happens, but they still watch. They still subscribe. They still buy the merch. And they still show up. At this point, the emotions are empty. Well, it's fair enough. It's a fair point. Cecil Robinson. Thank you, sir, for the support. Appreciate it. Corbin Rogers with the 9.99. Ringside and Fightful has that 4 cuts and possibly more was based on vacation status. Bulu dropping another 10 here on the stream. Now the World 138. I agree. Have not seen WWE in over a year. Been a fan for 36 years. And never thought I wouldn't watch it, and here we are. But AEW does nothing for me. Rizzo, I really want to like AEW in New Japan. Hey, you like that super chat? How'd you like to pull on one of those? Brother? Anyway, Rizzo says, I really want to like AEW in New Japan, but neither has captured my fandom. If it wasn't for this podcast and chat, I probably would not be a wrestling fan. Jonathan Corky, I think WWE attraction is the WrestleMania allure. Adam Cole. I'm reading someone else's message here. Hulkling, 93. I've said it to WWE stands before. You don't have to compare the product to other companies to prove that it's bad. You can compare it with its past. Yeah, the person who said vacation status, I think he might have meant vaccination status, because vacation doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Vaccination status, that makes a little more sense. Vitamin Vision TV. Solomonster, thank you for all your work and coverage. WWE has become the absolute shits. Just when you build back up some trust, what is going on? Dried chicken, don't sneeze or nod around Vince to get him angry. Brendan, what show would you recommend to people who don't like AEW and want to like WWE but cannot? I think MLW is doing some good stuff. You know, they still have a smaller audience, obviously, than WWE does or AEW does. But, you know, there's some positive things to Impact. There's some positive things to MLW. You know, obviously, GCW has a very loyal following. They don't have weekly television, though. MLW has a television show. Impact has a television show. Can't say Ring of Honor, unfortunately. Yeah, Bearwolf in the chat says, I'm all for mandatory vacations. I am too. I haven't taken a vacation in almost 2 years. I agree. I am for mandatory vacations. Ren Silver. Before today, you know what in wrestling irritated me? What the hell did they do to Sami Zayn's theme? Thoughts on his new crap theme against the old one? I've only heard the new theme one time. I gotta hear it more. My ears might get used to it. Sometimes I have to warm up to someone's theme song when they change it. I'm not gonna hate on it yet. I just need to hear it a little bit more. Elias Rodriguez, Nia Jax and her trail of battered bodies. Marcus the Entertainer, B-Fab to the Acclaimed. That would be an interesting pairing. Amir. Adam Cole shaves his head, starts going by Budge, and manages Bearcat Lee. Bearcat, Butcher, Blade, Budge, and Bunny. Oh my god. Oh my god, you forgot the bastard. Pack. Bearcat, Butcher, Blade, Budge, Bunny, and Bastard. All on the AEW roster, potentially. EJ Slamp, do you know when Finn Balor's deal is up? I think he will leave when it is. I have no idea. King of Doug Style, do you think the networks have any hand in all of this? I don't believe that the networks have any hand in creative hiring and firing of talent. Do I think they have an influence over some of the creative ideas we see on TV? Absolutely. They have a lot of money invested in these shows. Why wouldn't they? But I don't think... Why would they have anything to do at all with killing someone's push or whether or not they get released? USA and Fox have nothing to do with that. Hulu says Vince McMahon should change his theme to Out of Touch by Hall & Oates. Hey, Brad, thank you for the sub. And John Davis, I think we're finally caught up on all your super chats. John Davis, thank you for the $4.99. I very much appreciate that. Man, just as I say that, we have another one coming in here from Fire Panda 007. Thoughts on Jericho and Brody Lee's wife going after Samurai Del Sol for misspelling Brody's name. Yeah, I have some thoughts on that. I'm going to wait until the podcast on Sunday. I want to see if there's some more information I can find out about that, because there could be a little more to it than just that. My reaction initially was like probably many of yours. But I will wait and probably will address it on the podcast on Sunday. You Watt Mate. I feel so bad for Triple H. Most of his projects are gone. Well, don't feel too bad for him. He'll be okay. I think Triple H will be fine. But you can understand why he would be frustrated. I mean, he's got to be one of the most frustrated people in that entire company right now. Which is not good for a guy who's supposed to be staying stress-free after having a heart procedure. You don't want to be too stressed out when you've had some kind of heart issue. That's not good. I would hate to think that any of this stuff had anything to do with his heart issue. But that's just me thinking out loud. All right, well, listen, we have covered all of the breaking news tonight. Again, if you joined late, we were discussing the WWE releases just to kind of wrap this up and put a bow on things here, because I know some people joined late. I will run through the list really quickly. 18 people lost their jobs today in WWE. There are reports that some of these releases may have had to do with COVID vaccination status, i.e. people who I guess did not want to get vaccinated. And that potentially, I guess, could cause problems for WWE. They're on a European tour right now. Maybe some people weren't able to go overseas because of their vaccination status. So I don't know exactly which people. Perhaps we'll find out who that applies to. But the people who are no longer on the WWE payroll or roster, Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, 2 former NXT champions, gone. Both, regardless of COVID vaccination status, whoever that applies to, the points that I made earlier on in the stream, regardless of what information comes out about all that, still apply. These people were put on TV in a position to fail. These people were butchered the moment they got called up, and don't let that fact escape you, regardless of whatever other information comes out about this. Nothing that comes out will change the horrific way that they were both butchered when they got called up to the main roster. And it wasn't right away with Keith Lee. There was some promise there at the beginning when Keith Lee got called up last summer, but it quickly dissipated after that. So they're gone. Scarlett Bordeaux is gone. She never even had a shot. Nia Jax, gone from WWE. B-Fab. So Hit Row is now down by 1 member. Ember Moon, also gone. Eva Marie. Mia Yim. Harry Smith. Yes, that Harry Smith. Believe it or not, he was signed months ago. Never made 1 appearance on TV. Lince Dorado and Grand Metalik. Grand Metalik wanted out, and he was given his release. Frankie Monet. Oni Lorcan. Trey Baxter. Jesse Kamea, Katrina Cortez, Zeta Ramir, and Jeet Rama. All gone from WWE. 18 in one day. We don't know if there are more to come. But I am sure that in the days to come, we'll get some more information. So I'll have more to say about this on the podcast on Sunday, episode 729. 14-year anniversary of the podcast this weekend, if you could believe it. I'll probably be having a separate stream in a couple of weeks. We'll probably pick a Thursday night, not this week coming up, maybe the week after. Do some Survivor Series predictions, take some of your email questions, super chat questions, just hang out. 14 years is a long time, so all you who have stuck with me from day one in 2007, I want to say thank you. By the way, if you're a channel member, if you are on the top tier, the Legends tier, you have access to some of the retro episodes, the early years of the Sound Off. The very first show I ever did, episode 1 through 12. I'm up to 12 right now. I'm getting them up slowly. They're up for Legends tier members. And my God, do I sound so timid. I go back and listen to how I sounded on those early shows. Oh, my God. But if you're curious, you do have access to that on the Legends tier. So thank you to all of our channel members. But yeah, we'll cover all this on the podcast coming up on Sunday. Corbin Rogers said that, well, yeah, he meant vaccination status, not vacation status. Well, at least it was funny. I didn't even realize the mistake when I first read it. I said, apparently their vacation status has caused them to lose their jobs. Perhaps they wanted too much time off, but no, he meant vaccination status. And by the way, I may as well give this a quick plug here because I am very much looking forward to this. A week from, it's now officially midnight here on the East Coast. So a week from today, next Friday, November 12th, House of Glory is back. If you do not live in the New York area, if you are not in Queens and cannot come down to the show, this is going to be our first show in about 2 years. I will be on commentary. And the show will be airing live on Fight TV at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you can't be there live, you can watch on Fight. You could see me do commentary and hopefully not embarrass myself. It's been 2 years since we've had a show and I've done commentary. But I'm very much looking forward to that. It's going to be the Amazing Red against Will Ospreay in the main event. So I am very excited to get back out there with Hog. So please join and show some support. Hey, Skywalker just dropped $4.99. Do you think Keith Lee would be over with Vince McMahon if he was repackaged to a dancing baby face like the Funkasaurus, Brodus Clay. It was Brodus Clay, not Brody Clay, just for the record. Oh, yeah, if he was out there singing and dancing, and yeah, of course, Vince McMahon would love it. He would have a nice laugh. Ha, 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 ha. Look at him dance, pal. Dance for me. I could just picture him in the back, yucking it up, laughing his ass off. It is true. Trolling the trolls. Says, I can start my own company with all the people WWE fired. Hey, DX Extreme, NWE. I see you in the chat. What's going on, man? Rizzo. Harry Smith had that one interview that never aired but was on the WWE YouTube channel. And we never saw him again. F this company. You know, I never really understood that one. They signed him. They paid him. He's got size to him. He's a second-generation guy. And they just... It's almost like they signed him by mistake. And they realized the error that they made about 6 months later. Oh, shit, we signed the wrong guy. Sorry. I'm telling you, some of these decisions, it's just... It makes you scratch your head, scratch your ass, scratch something. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for joining me here on this very unexpected breaking news stream. I wish it were under better circumstances, but man, you guys came out in full force, and I can't tell you how much this support means to me. I was not planning on going live tonight, but you guys were here. You guys were tearing it up in the chat, and I thank you for that. Please come on back tomorrow night. We're going to do it all over again after 11 o'clock Eastern when Rampage goes off the air. We'll talk AEW Rampage, which is live tomorrow night. CM Punk face-to-face with Eddie Kingston. And if there is any other breaking WWE news, we'll probably get into that a little bit as well. So until then, be well, stay safe. Thank you all again for joining me and all the Super Chat love. And I will see you guys tomorrow night live on the Rampage stream. Take care, guys.